Hello and what's up, GSC Pokemon Challenges fam? How you guys doing? We are back. It's another episode of the Clair Minimum Battle Series. In fact, it is the final episode. We're going to be running a bunch of Pokemon today to see how many of them get through, but I'm just going to tell you right now, this one is a victory lap. I see zero chance that we lose a single Pokemon today. We are coming in with the 3 legendary Birds of Kanto. That means we get the 3 legendary Beasts of Johto. Somebody said that a man of culture knows that those aren't dogs in Johto, and we know they're beasts. They're going to absolutely crush this section, I think. Then we've got the entire Dratini line. The Dratini is a member pick Pokemon, but Dragonair and Dragonite are still legitimately in the action. We're going to get Mew and Mewtwo in on this. Then we'll have Tyranitar, Lugia, Ho-Oh, and of course Celebi to round it all out. I'm going to place my predictions right now, of course, that we not only crush this section, but most of these Pokemon get through Clair on the first attempt, and most of these Pokemon beat the rivals on the first attempt. I think this is purely a formality that we are running these Pokemon in this episode. Now, I will also note there is one new member pick that has come in, which actually appears to have glitched out the overlay a little bit, because there is a second Vileplume supporter now, and we're going to have to see how this new Vileplume does. I will be running that as well in this episode, just so that we get that out of the way. Rob, who is currently a channel member, also joined over on the Patreon, and when you join on Patreon and the channel memberships, you do get 2 Pokemon to run in this series. That is the way that I do 2 Pokemon for people. I've had a couple people ask, like, hey, I've been a long time subscriber, can I get a second Pokemon at this point? Officially, the way that I do it is join on 2 places, double support me. I'm more than happy to double run Pokemon for you. Otherwise, it would be way too much burden to run if everybody who's a member just got to pick like a second Pokemon at this point. We'd be here for a couple more episodes. So take that for what you will. Anyway, with that, we're ready to get in on this action. I'm going to lead off with the legendary birds and legendary beasts. We're going to compare them up. We're going to do Articuno versus Suicune. We're going to do Zapdos versus Raikou, and we're going to do Moltres versus Entei. Ho-Oh is on another level from Moltres, so I think it deserves its own little section towards the end of this. But let's just get into that Articuno run and see how this Pokemon actually goes. So starting off with our Articuno, we finished the last section with a moveset of Fly, Powder Snow, Agility, and Mud Slap. Now, of course, Fly and Powder Snow are same type moves. They give us a reasonable chance of getting through everything. We will get to Mind Reader at level 37. I don't think we get to Ice Beam at level 49 in this section, though we could always throw on Blizzard or Icy Wind if we need a stronger same type ice move. And Fly is effectively the best flying type move that we can get on this Pokemon. I'm going to try to keep agility for the late game. I have strategies in mind there. And then Mud Slap is our kind of YOLO strat. So let's just see how this actually goes. I expect this Pokemon to completely destroy when we actually get to Clair, because we've got the stab with the ice type moves. I just have to think that it's completely OP, but we're going to have to see how this actually goes. For now, though, this Pokemon has amazing special and double stab here, so I think it's going to completely crush everything inside of the Rocket Hideout, but we'll just have to see how it actually works out as we go through. And at least with no issues, we managed to make it to the Marlboro Man. We took a couple resets just on a spinner, but let's see if we can actually get through this, or do we need a moveset upgrade to get through these Coughings? Let's find out. So first things first, when we get to the Coughings, we have this kind of awkward situation where they have lower special defense than defense, but we also have a much weaker special attack with Powder Snow versus Fly. So I'm not sure how this actually works out. I'm going to Fly here just to see how much damage it does. It looks like a 2-hitter. We can try Powder Snow after that. On the second Coughing, I'll just see what Powder Snow does. It looks like Powder Snow is also a 2-hit KO, so it doesn't really seem to make any difference which way we go, other than Powder Snow can get the freeze. When we get to the Wheezing, we get a nice crit, so we do get a 2-hitter there as well. And fortunately, Powder Snow has a decent amount of PP, but we've run out because I didn't recover PP coming in, so we'll just go Fly on the last of these Coughings. It's a simple 2-hit KO, and we get through on the first attempt. The Marlboro Man never stood a chance here. And with that, we're ready to make our way downstairs to the basement and the rival, where we've got the Mud Slap to use against the Magnemite, and I think our other moves will be enough for everything else. We do have the Quilava down here, so we'll have to see how that goes, but I think we'll be able to get through. Let's find out. So Rival 4 attempt number 1, I'm going straight for Powder Snow on the Golbat here. It confuses me with Confuse Ray, but I still knock it out the next turn. We get to level 35 as the Magnemite comes out. I go Mud Slap. It manages to get me with the Thunder Wave, unfortunately. I didn't even come in fully healed to this one, so we're going to go down on the first attempt. Let's try this one again. The Paralyzed Cure Berry is the obvious play here, so let's just see if that gets us through or not. On the next attempt, we hit the Mud Slap. We get the Thunder Wave, but we can just heal immediately and then knock that Pokemon out. That brings out the Quilava next. I'm going Fly right here as it misses Flame Wheel while I'm in the air. Fly appears to be a 2-hit KO, and we tank the Flame Wheel easily, so we just knock that Pokemon out. Haunter, I'm going for the Fly as well, since Curse can't affect you when you're in the air or underground. That takes that Pokemon down nice and easy, and we'll just stick with Fly on the Sneasel. It turns out to be a 2-hitter, maybe even Powder Snow finishes it. Not quite, we need 2 hits, but we do manage to get through on that attempt with no issues. So it's basically just a matter of throwing on that Paralyzed Cure Berry. I think that's going to be pretty common in this episode, but let's just see how we do against the rest of these randos, and hopefully we can just go stunt on the final Rocket Executive. I think Fly will be enough to get us through there, even though we are weak to Fire type. I just don't think it's really going to matter that much in the end. Now we level up to learn Mind Reader, but I don't think I need this move. Like, yes, it could help with some blizzards, but I think we'll be better off just resetting for blizzard luck when we need it. So for now, we're going to skip that move. Let's move on in this challenge. Now, as usual, I will be using as much speed up as possible as I go through this one, just because we have so many Pokemon to do, but I really want to finish this episode today so that we can move on to the next section and actually get into the Elite Four. And here is we destroy all of the randos before we get to the final Rocket Executive. We're ready to get into the fight against him. Let's see how this actually goes against his Houndour and Houndoom. I don't think the coughing is any threat, but let's find out. So first up, Mr. Wannabe Giovanni sends out the Houndour. We're going Fly right here, and that is going to be a 1-hit KO. Perfectly easy. Now Houndoom comes out. I go Fly again as it misses Ember. We don't quite get the 1-hitter, but it will be a simple 2-hit KO to take that Pokemon down. Now the coughing comes out. We're still on green health. We can just go for the Powder Snow. It's a 2-hitter, but we still get through super easily, and we're ready to move on in the game. Now the real question is just, is Powder Snow enough for Clair? Do we need a moveset upgrade? I think we'll be able to get through the Dragonairs just fine with this because of our massive special attack, plus the fact that we are using it as a same type move. Like, our levels are kind of an issue because of the slow level up group. That's something we're going to be dealing with in this entire episode, but I have to believe that the power is going to completely overshadow the levels in this one. I mean, these are legendary Pokemon. This is the strongest, best of the best. So we just have to believe that we're going to crush everything, but let's find out if that's actually the case. I will pick up the Never Melt Ice just to be safe here in case we need an extra little bit of oomph. And as I've mentioned, we could go for Icy Wind, which would be an immediate upgrade on the Powder Snow, just losing the ability to freeze. So we'll keep that in mind as well. Of course, if we ever get to Ice Beam, that will go on over Powder Snow 100% since it's so much better of a move. But it looks like we're going to have to get into the league before we get a chance to use that. But at least on the Dragonair just before Clair, the Powder Snow does not get the 1-hitter. So that makes me think we may need the moveset upgrade just purely for damage. But before we YOLO all the way into Blizzard, I'm going to try the Icy Wind here. Let's just see what this does for us, because honestly, I just think we need to one-shot those Dragonairs to have a chance. I'm going to replace Powder Snow with this move. Let's see if that is enough. So Clair attempt number 1, we go Icy Wind on the first Dragonair and we get the 1-hit KO. Second Dragonair comes out, we'll stick with the same, once again 1-hit KOing it, and the third Dragonair gets Icy Wind and gets wrecked. We get to level 41 right here as the Kingdra comes out. It has fairly balanced defensive stats, so technically I think Fly is our stronger move here in this neutral situation, so I'm just going to go for it. Fly does about a third here. Looks like it's going to be a 3-hit KO, but then we get a crit. So we just beat Clair on the first attempt. She's going to call hacks 100%. But I mean, if a legendary ice type Pokemon does not beat her, I don't know what she expects to beat her. Like, she's just going to call hacks on everything. Clearly, this is what Clair has been this entire section. It's an absolute embarrassment to the entire Pokemon League. And I'm kind of glad that we get to come here and just stunt on her at the end with all these Pokemon and kind of put her in her place, because we got to teach her that whining like a kid on the playground when you lose is not the way to actually get ahead in life, Claire. You gotta actually try to win. You know, just give a little bit of effort, and then maybe people will respect you. But you're sitting here crying more than Whitney about every single loss. Like, Whitney never made us go into the basement and talk to a bunch of old guys in order to get our badge. You know, at least her friend was standing right there to say, hey, Whitney, come off it and give him the badge already. Claire is just like, I need 3 guys to tell me to actually give you a badge after you beat me super easily. Still, with that, we're ready to move on in this challenge. Let's go beat up on Rival 5 and put this Articuno on the steps of the league, where I'm just saying it has to be a cheat code when we get to the league here. If we get to Lancey Boy with this one, with Stab Ice Beam, I just have to believe that we're winning that fight. Yes, he's got the Charizard. I'm willing to bet we can get through the Charizard. Yes, he's got the Aerodactyl. I'm willing to bet we can get through the Aerodactyl. Remember, we've got agility on the moveset, which we're going to set up on that very first Gyarados. So we're going to outspeed everything. And then we're going to be set up to just completely embarrass that team, I think, if I can actually get past this one spinner without like misrouting here. What is this nonsense? There we go. We finally get past her. We can move on in this challenge. But I'm just saying, Articuno, probably going to be a world beater here against the league. It's always going to have chances with freeze strats, with agility, with fly to cause opponents to miss while we're in the air. I think there are just tons of opportunities for this Pokemon to be a beast in this next section. I think it beats Will. I think it beats Koga. I think it beats Bruno. I think we eventually get through Karen, and then I think Lance is a joke. That is my prediction for this Pokemon. Tell me if you think I'm wrong in the comments section, but remember, we can go Blizzard if we absolutely have to in order to guarantee and lock up the wins. I mean, the only thing that would make this Pokemon better would be if it could learn Surf for the Charizard. That's basically it. Anyway, we have made it to Rival 5. Let's just see how he goes and how easily we get to the steps of the league with this one. So here the Rival leads off with his Sneasel. We're going straight for Fly here. It's not quite a one-hitter, interestingly enough. Let's see if Mud Slap finishes it. It does. That brings out the Magneton. I should have put on the Paralyzed Cure Berry. I did not. Still, we get 2 Thunder Wave misses as we Mud Slap there, so we get through just fine. Typhlosion is out next. We're going Fly. It misses Flame Wheel. We missed the Fly when we come down, though. Now it tried to Smoke Screen, though, and we've gotten it to incredibly low health, but it crits me. Are you kidding me? And he quick attacks to knock me out. Oh, the crit plus the quick attack. Absolute brutality. Are you kidding me? Still, let's get this one done properly in the next attempt. We once again get through Magneton with no issues. We're back to this Typhlosion. We do about half this time with the Fly, but then we get burned. Are you kidding me? Oh, he's just cheesing here. We're going to have to reset in that case again, just because of the fact that he's getting so much luck against us. So because it's not a guaranteed 2-hit KO, I'm going to go for 1 Mud Slap on the Typhlosion. We get a miss. Now it hits the Flame Wheel, but we get a Fly again. Oh, we miss again with Fly. Are you kidding me? Come on. This guy's hacking. We're going to cry more than Claire here. We do ultimately manage to get through, though. We will go Fly against the Haunter and one-shot that Pokemon. Out comes the Kadabra. We're going for the same. It goes Future Sight, but I don't really care. And that brings out the Golbat, where we'll go Icy Wind, and that is a one-hitter. So it takes a few attempts to get through there, but mostly because of the Rival cheesing. I think if he doesn't get crits and burns, we simply get through on the first attempt. Still, at the end of the day, this Pokemon is standing on the steps of the league, and I have to believe Articuno just has what it takes to be a world beater. Icy Wind probably gets replaced either by Ice Beam or by Blizzard as we go through this one. Fly, I don't think goes anywhere. We don't have a ton of coverage for a lot of situations, so we're just gonna have to kind of roll with what we've got right now. Max Friendship Return could come on in certain cases if the other moves are resisted, but that's really it. I mean, we've got the Mud Slap for a little bit of shenanigans, and maybe by the time we get to the Fortress, for example, we just freeze that Pokemon. That might be the way through, but hey, that's 1 legendary done. We're ready to now move on to our Suicune to see how it does. So here with Suicune, we're coming in with Surf, Gust, Bite, and Rain Dance. A very interesting set, but I expect Surf to get us through a lot of Pokemon here. So we just have to see how we actually do when we get to Clair. We might need to add on a moveset upgrade at that point. By a level up, we get Aurora Beam, but not until level 41. That will be 1 level after we actually get to Clair, but during that fight. Otherwise, of course, Icy Wind, Blizzard, they're all legitimate strats here. So we'll just have to test and see what actually works. For now, though, I I expect Surf to completely crush everything, so we'll just use this to get through to rival number 4 after we beat the Marlboro Man. I'm predicting the Marlboro Man's going to go down pretty easy to the Surfs, but we'll just have to see how that actually works out. I mean, we are at a lower level, so there is always a chance that it doesn't quite work out. Though who knows, maybe Rain Dance strats are all we actually need. Still, we make it to the Marlboro Man, and I'm going to see if I can get the setup to knock him out nice and easy or not. So on the first coughing, I'm going straight for Surf right here. That will get the one-hit KO, sure enough. Second coughing comes out. I'm going to try to Rain Dance here because I want a one-shot against that Wheezing when it comes out. We managed to take that one down with no issues, getting to level 34. The third coughing gets completely wrecked. Now we've got Wheezing out. Do we one-shot with the Rain? Yes, we do. So just like that, we're going to one-shot the rest of these Pokemon. They're a complete joke. The Marlboro Man never stood a chance against Suicune here, and we're ready to move on to rival number 4. Now for rival number 4, we have Gust for his Meganium. I'm not sure if it's actually worth anything or if we'd just be better off going Bite, but I mean, it is a super effective move and our attack stat isn't that much lower than our special attack stat, so this probably works, but let's just see how it actually goes. Paralyzed Cure Berry is almost certainly the correct play as far as held items, so we'll just go ahead and give that right here just in case that Magnemite gets us, but let's see if we get the first attempt victory. So first up on the Golbat, I'm actually going to set up Rain here so that I do more damage with the Surf. And when I do that, I one-shot the Golbat. It goes down nice and easy. Magnemite won't stand a chance in the Rain, so we easily take that one down. Meganium is out now. In the Rain, we might actually be stronger using Surf here, so let's just do that. It does about 40%. We take a big Razor Leaf. Still, as long as the Rain is going, I'm just going to keep going with this move. Finally, the Rain stops. We can go Gust and finish the Meganium off. That will bring out the Haunter. We've got Bite here. We may as well use it. And with that, we get the Sneasel out last. Surf is going to be a 2-hit KO, but Feint Attack doesn't do nearly enough, so we easily get through on the first attempt. So just like that, we are ready to move on in this challenge, and we're going to make our way off to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni. He's going to be super scared of this legendary Pokemon because it is perfectly set up to destroy his team. And quite frankly, I mean, he's only heard the legends of the Suicune. He thought it was actually a Vaporeon, but you know, we're going to show him that it's actually slightly different than that Pokemon. And sure enough, here we make it to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni. I'm not even going to respect him by healing. Let's see how this goes. Of course, he leads off with the Houndour. I'm just going straight for Surf and completely destroying that Pokemon. That brings out the Coughing second. Surf will destroy that one as well in a single hit. And that brings out the Houndoom, which just never stood a chance here. It gets completely wrecked. And just like that, Suicune is ready to move on in this challenge. We're headed off to Claire's gym. We're just a little bit below the level where we will get access to Aurora Beam. I'm going to try to go with my moveset as is, though. I just want to see if it turns out to be possible to simply get through all of these randos, maybe take out one of the Dragonairs and get to the point of getting Aurora Beam to finish off the rest of the team rather than going straight to something like Blizzard here. I think this could work, but we're just going to have to test it and find out. Now, of course, when we get to Aurora Beam, it's not like we're going to have Stab in that move, so it still might not be enough for the random Dragonairs. We're just going to have to find out. We might need a Never Melt Ice there or something. We still have really good special attack here. Our attack stat is a little bit lacking compared to some of the other legendaries. I feel like Articuno had better stats at this point. Still, I think we've got reasonable chances to get through this once we actually manage the setup, so we're just going to have to test this and see, and maybe it's just best to go in with the Paralyzed Cure Berry because we're very likely to get a Thunder Wave. I'm honestly not sure. We'll just test everything here as we go through this section. Now, it's worth noting that Bite is a 3-hit KO on the Dragonair just before Claire, so I expect the first Dragonair in this next fight to also be a 3-hit KO. Still, let's just throw on the Paralyzed Cure Berry and see how this actually works out for us. Maybe it's enough to get through with the Bite strats here. So Claire attempt number 1, I'm going straight for Bite on the first Dragonair. We get a flinch, then we get a second flinch, and we get the 3-hitter there. Second Dragonair comes out, we Bite, it hits Thunder Wave, but we had the Paralyzed Cure Berry on. We get a flinch after that, and we knock that one out. Now we get a level up and learn the Aurora Beam. I'm going to throw it on over Gust, and now when we go Aurora Beam on this Pokemon, the third Dragonair goes down in a single hit. That brings out the Kingdra. We can go Aurora Beam, we can go Bite. Technically, Aurora Beam is strong stronger, but Bite is going to have the chance to flinch. So I'm going to go for a few bites here, hoping to get those flinches that I need. She's smoke screening on me before she goes for the hyper potion. She's clearly scared, which is why she's going for so much accuracy spam. Here, I'm going to switch into the Aurora Beam at this point, hoping that I can get the KO. We've got her all the way down to low health, and we bite her down after a hyper beam because she had to recharge. So just like that, we do beat Claire on the first attempt, and we don't even have to add on the TM there. We're able to continue with our moveset as is. And the interesting thing is, outside of Surf, we don't have a single TM on our learn set right now. So we actually have some really legit chances of getting through things. We're just going to have to see how this goes, but we get knocked out by the next Dragonair. Are you kidding me? We didn't get a one-shot with the Aurora Beam. I'm going to have to actually heal to go into this fight against the Dragon's Den Dragonair because Aurora Beam isn't quite strong enough. Still, when we go in properly healed, it's just a 2-hit KO and we get the easy victory. We can move on. Let's see how it goes from here. So here we're just going to come downstairs and tell these old guys about how we completely destroyed Claire. We said that she was a weak person. They didn't really like that, but you know, we're just tell them the answers that they want to hear. Still, Claire will have to give us that badge. She's going to have to go warn Lancey Boy about this one because this is a legendary Pokemon. Like, he's got the pseudo legendaries, but we've got the actual legendary here. So I don't think that he actually stands a chance when we get there, assuming we can get to Lancey Boy. And I think we've got decent chances. Like, there will be a few Pokemon along the way that might be a little bit of a wall to the Suicune, but I just have to think that eventually we can get it to go. For now, though, we've got to go and take on rival number 5, where I think we've got all the moves. We've now got Aurora Beam for the Meganium, which should be pretty decent. So assuming that I can actually get past this Spinner, we should have a chance here. Spinners like that one are the reason why RSC Pokemon Challenges actually made his own ROM hack rather than using a Scott's Thoughts patch file to actually make it so that all spinners never see you. Like, I get it, you know, use skill, root around the spinner, but when you're trying to play super fast because you're doing these challenges with tons of Pokemon, that's just such a time waste to actually have to mess with these spinners. It's so much better to just be able to run directly past them every single time. Yes, I know that in the actual games, for example, if you run, they'll actually detect you and then you're guaranteed to be seen, but I'm just saying, like, come on, just suspend a little bit of disbelief so we get through faster here. Anyway, we've made it to Rival 5. Let's see how he goes. Here, he leads off with the Sneasel. I'm going to take the chance to Rain Dance here and then just go for the Surf, which will completely destroy this Pokemon. We get to level 42. Magneton comes out. It is raining. We're just going to hit the Surf in one shot. That will bring out the Meganium. Let's see what Aurora Beam does here. It does slightly less than half. It goes for Reflect. Good job, Meganium. And we get the 2-hit KO. Golbat comes out next. We'll go for the Aurora Beam since it's super effective. It turns out to be a 2-hitter. We get confused, but we still take that Pokemon down. Now we've got the Haunter out. I reckon I will just bite. We miss the first turn because of confusion, but we knock it out the next turn, and then we can just bite against the Kadabra, but it's not a one-hitter. It is a 2-hit KO. Still, Curse wasn't enough. We managed to get through, and we're ready to move on to the league. Here in this next fight against Willy Boy, we've got Bite. We've got Aurora Beam for 3 of his Pokemon. Surf should stack up perfectly fine, I think, against the Jinx if Bite doesn't take her down. And then it's just about the Slowbro. We're just going to have to find some way to get through that Pokemon, but I think we'll ultimately get it to go. So Suicune makes it to the league nice and easy. Now we've got to check in on our electric types. We're coming in with Zapdos first. So Zapdos comes in with Fly, Rock Smash, Thunder Wave, and Mud Slap at this point. We're going to have to see how this actually goes. We might need an electric type move. Obviously, we forgot all electric type moves in the last section. Our only level up move here is going to be Detect. I think there's a high likelihood that we throw on the Thunder here. We can learn Thunder via level up, but not until level 73. We're never going to get close to that level with a slow level up Pokemon on minimum battles. I believe we cap out at like level 70 if we save all the rare candies for the end. So I think this is one where just throwing on Thunder makes the most sense. Rock Smash really doesn't do that much for us. We can keep Mud Slap for the Magnemites. I think that's about the way to go. Let's just see if that gets us through or not. Like most of the time, I would avoid throwing on a TM right away, but this is one where it just simply makes too much sense. We really do need the power if we're going to get through everything here. Against Kingdra, it will be neutrally effective. We're going to have to figure out what we want to do against those Dragonairs, of course. Fly is probably the play there, but we'll just have to see how it goes. I'll go Fly wherever I think I can without the opponent setting up defense, but we'll just have to keep in mind that Thunder will be required on the toughest opponents here, and in those cases, we're just going to kind of be YOLOing for the accuracy. We could go Rain Dance as well to get the accuracy, but I think overall we'll be able to get this to go without the Rain Dance at this point. But with no issues, we do make it to the Marlboro Man at the end of this section. I think this just comes down to Thunder accuracy. We'll just have to see how it goes. Maybe Fly can get a KO, but the Poffings are fairly defensive, so I'm not sure. Let's test it and find out. So against the first Coughing, I'm going to at least try Fly, because if it can get the KO, this is more accurate. It is doing like half damage here, so Thunder is clearly the play. We get one accuracy drop as well, so we're probably going to be in bad shape on this one. Still, when we do hit Thunder, we're getting one-hit KOs on these Coughings. We just need to see how we do against Wheezing. If we can manage the hit, we do get it, and it is a one-hit KO. So now this is just about accuracy on the last two Pokemon. We YOLO into Thunder, we miss, we get a critical hit. We're probably going down right there to the poison, so we're gonna have to try this one again. So this time we're just gonna go straight for the Thunders, just trying to chain together enough hits that we can take these Pokemon down, ideally without a bunch of accuracy drops. We get our accuracy dropped by the third Coughing this time when we miss. We make it back to Wheezing. We miss one Thunder, but we hit the next one, so we once again take that Pokemon down. Now we just need to land on the last two Coughings. We've run out of Thunder PP, so we'll just go Fly here, but we've got a lot more HP this time, so it's not enough to knock me out. On the second attempt, we get through that Marlboro Man, and we're ready to move on in this challenge. We've got to go take on the rival. We've got the Mud Slap for the Magnemite. I think against everything else, we've got moves that will get us through eventually if we can get past this spinner. I'm just saying, look at the utter frustration of having to get past that guy because he just spins around and he moves too quickly for you to time him out at this speed. I'm sorry. Like, I could use my little hotkey that lets me go down to 1x speed to get past him, but that's so tedious. Nobody wants to see that. Come on. I think people forget just how slow these games were in their original forms. It feels so much better to play these games sped up like I do these days. Anyway, we have made it to Rival 4. Let's just see how he goes. Here against the Golbat, we're going Thunder. We miss again. It confuses me. We just need to actually hit Thunder here, and this is like a guaranteed one-hit KO. We finally get it and knock that Pokemon out, though we're down to about half health. The Magnemite comes out. We go for the Mud Slap. It hits the Thunder Wave on me. I'm going to need to go for a Paralyzed Cure Berry here, it looks like. Now we get the Haunter. If we weren't paralyzed, we could just fly there. We're fully paralyzed in the air, and we lose. Let's try this one again. So next attempt, we one-shot the Golbat immediately. We get to level 35 as Magnemite comes out. We go for the Mud Slap. It can hit with Thunder Wave if it wants to. It goes Sonic Boom instead. That's perfectly fine. We just destroy that Pokemon. Now on the Haunter, we will fly. It can miss Curse while we're in the air, and we knock it out after that. We get the Sneasel out. Let's just give it a Thunder because we can, and that brings out the Quilava. Quilava's been hiding scared here because we got the Thunderbird, and we easily destroy that one, and we're ready to move on in this challenge. So ultimately, the Rival isn't really that much of a difficulty once you throw on that Paralyzed Cure Berry, and we didn't even use it when we did finally throw it on, which just kind of shows how random that fight can be. Still, at this point, we're so over leveled against everything that I think we'll be able to just get through all these randos nice and easy and make our way to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni. Now we level up and we could learn Detect. I'm just actually going to skip the move. It is a TM if I ever want to learn it, but right now I don't think it gives any real advantage for this Pokemon, so it's on that basis that I'm just going to skip it. If I replace any move, I'm very likely to throw on Rain Dance here in order to get the guaranteed hits from Thunder. That might be much more beneficial to this Pokemon. And after completely embarrassing all of the Rockets before the Wannabe Giovanni, he's going to have to try to step up to the plate with his doggies, but I think we're going to completely destroy them. Let's see how this goes. So he leads off with the Houndour. We go straight up for Fly, and that is a one-hit KO. Out comes the Coughing. I'm going Thunder here. He misses a Smokescreen, fortunately, when we miss, and we knock him out the next turn. And how about the Houndoom? It has lower defense. I think I just go for Fly here. Let's see if it gets the one-hitter. Not quite, but he just goes Smog. Oh, good job. There we go. We defeat him on the very first attempt. He never really stood a chance. But now we've got to move on to Claire's gym, where the electric type is resisted. We might need to go for something neutral here, or like I said, maybe we go for Rain Dance just to guarantee the Thunders hit with a Paralyzed Cure Berry. We have to see how much damage we actually manage to do with the Thunders, and then maybe Fly is just enough on its own. We'll just have to test everything and see here. I'm pretty sure we can throw on a Sharp Beak if we just need to raise the power of the Fly slightly, so we'll keep that in mind as well as we go through this one. I get the feeling though that Zapdos, if it was doing a full game solo challenge, would really like to have Hidden Power Ice, with the entire idea being that you would then be able to knock out things like dragons with the ice type moves. You would still have your electric type moves like Thunder Shock and Thunderbolt when you get to the post game, and I get the feeling that moveset would take down a lot of things. Honestly, our stab typings are generally fine against everything other than like dragon. You could just see the Hidden Power Ice getting you through that case, or I guess Hidden Power Ground could make a lot of sense too on this Pokemon, but at the end of the day, I think we can find ways through just about everything. In fact, I could see an argument for going for like a Hidden Power Fire or something here in order to get through the steel types. That could also be pretty legit going through this challenge. Now on the Dragonair just before Clair, I want to see what Fly does here, and it is not a one-hit KO. It will be a two-hitter. We can Thunder that Pokemon down from there, but we're going to see that, yeah, we absolutely need the Paralyzed Cure Berry here, and we may just need a lot of luck to actually get through this. When we get to the Kingdra, of course, we can then go for the Thunders. So we'll just have to see if that turns out to be enough, but let's get into it and find out. So Clair attempt number one, she leads off with the first Dragonair. I'm going to go for a Mud Slap first just to see how much damage it does. We get the Thunder Wave right there. Let's go for Fly after that. And yeah, it's going to take a couple hits there. I'm just going to reset in that situation because I think at that point, we're just better off going for Fly twice and kind of hoping that she doesn't go for Thunder Wave. She goes for Surf that time. That brings out the second Dragonair, which does know the Ice Beam, but it misses while we're in the air. Then it hits Thunder Wave, but we're able to knock it out. Third Dragonair comes out. It does go Thunder Wave. We get paralyzed. Still, we're gonna try to fly and knock this one out. We just keep getting paralyzed while we're in the air. So I'm pretty sure we go down here against the Kingdra. Nothing we can do on that attempt. Let's try this one again. So of course we can get one Thunder Wave that hits, maybe one that misses and gives us a chance to do something else. But if I'm starting to get hit by the Thunder Waves, I think we just reset at that point. We like when they switch to moves other than Thunder Wave on the second turn, giving us at least a chance to get through them. I think this third Dragonair is just going to go for the Thunder Wave no matter what. I'm going to go Thunder this time. And now that we get to Kingdra, let's actually paralyze this Pokemon. It does pretty decent damage with its Surf. Thunder here does massive damage, though a critical hit Thunder will take it down. She goes for the Hyper Potion there, and if I hit one more Thunder, I actually win with 4 HP remaining on the fourth attempt there against Clair. It's not pretty, but it is possible to get the job done thanks to the Thunder, and you just have to basically stop using Fly once you get paralyzed by that third Dragonair if you can get that level of luck. It's kind of strange that she goes for Surf with that first Dragonair sometimes when you don't get paralyzed there on turn one. We'll certainly take it, but now we've just got to move on in this challenge and hope that our stab typings are enough for everything else as we go through. And with that, we can get our badge and we're ready to now move on to Rival number 5. I think we've got all the moves that we need for Rival 5, but we'll just have to see how it goes. Paralyzed Cure Berry is almost certainly required against that Magneton. It's probably a 3-hit KO if I have to guess, but we should still ultimately be able to get the job done. So Rival 5 attempt number 1 right here. We're going straight for Thunder on the Sneasel. That's an easy 1-hit KO. Magneton comes out next. We'll go Mud Slap here. We do about half. It misses the Thunder Wave, so we just take that Pokemon down. Now we get the Haunter. We're going to Fly here. We just need to dodge the 5% chance to miss, and we knock it out in a single hit. Kadabra comes out. We're going to go for Fly here as well just to get the easy KO. That brings out Typhlosion, where I'm going to try to go Thunder. It hits Flame Wheel when I miss. I get hit by Future Sight as well, but we hit the next Thunder, dealing massive damage. And now Mud Slap should finish that one off. It does. And that brings out the final Golbat. We hit the Thunder, and just like that, we get the first attempt victory. The Rival never stood a chance. And now as we go into the fight against Willy Boy, Thunder is super effective against 3 members of his team. We've got the Fly for the Exeggutor. It's really just the Jinx that could be a problem for us, but I think we've got the special defense to handle it. We'll just have to see when we get there. For now, this one gets through. Now it's time for Raikou to get a chance. So it is Raikou time. We're coming in with Thundershock, Leer, Dig, and Bite. We've got a little bit more move coverage with this Pokemon. We can learn things like Iron Tail for some neutral damage against those Dragonairs if we need a stronger move. We're going to learn Spark at level 41 as our only level up move. That will be an upgrade on the Thundershock. We'll have to see how that goes. But then honestly, we might end up throwing on like a Headbutt strat or something to try to get through that gym. I'm honestly not sure what will be the best, but for now, we'll just try to get through all the randos as quickly as we can. Let's get the levels and move on in this one. Of course, the massive advantage we have with this Pokemon is that we do have Dig, so when we come up against a Magnemite or Magneton, we should be able to get some pretty easy KOs on those Pokemon. We're also running the weaker Thundershock, but at least it's 100% accurate, and Stab, so it gives us some chances to get through Pokemon that have a lower special defense or that have the flying or water typings. And sure enough, with no issues, we make it to the Marlboro Man at the end of this section. Let's see how he goes with our setup here. So first things first, Dig is technically our strongest move here, so I'm going to have to go for that against these Coughings. We get a critical hit one-shot on the first Coughing at least, but I'm willing to bet it's a 2-hit KO here. We get a crit on the second Coughing though, knocking it out in a single hit. Third Coughing comes out, and yeah, it's going to be a 2-hitter. We take a Sludge, but we can just Thundershock that Pokemon down. That will bring us to the Wheezing. I'm going to go Dig because it could always go Boom while I'm underground. I'm going to go Thundershock now, and another Thundershock will knock this one out. We get poisoned. Once we're poisoned, I think we're better off just going for the Thundershocks here. We paralyze the fourth Coughing and we can knock it out in one more hit. And that brings out the final Coughing. If it doesn't KO me here, I will get the victory. It goes Smog. Easy victory there as we get through on the first attempt on the Marlboro Man. Now we've got to go take on the rival in the basement. Of course, he's going to lead off with that Golbat, which we have a super effective move for. I think we can get through everything else. We'll just have to see. I'm pretty sure we're up against the Meganium here because it resists the electric type, but I think Bite will be enough to get the victory on that Pokemon. We're just going to have to test it and find out. So Rival 4 attempt number 1, he leads off with the Golbat. We go for the Thundershock. This is a 2-hit KO. We get confused, but we do knock that Pokemon out, getting to level 35. Magnemite comes out next. We are fully confused and we get paralyzed. Oh no. If we're not confused here, we get the easy victory. We do ultimately manage to get a Dig off, but that was not pretty. And then we really wanted to use Dig on the Haunter. We get destroyed by Curse. We're simply losing that attempt. Let's try this one again. And here, I think this comes down to not wanting to be confused when we get to the next Pokemon. So when I am confused, I'm just going to sit here and spam Leer against the Golbat until I snap out of confusion and then knock it out. Maybe the Bitterberry is the way to go here, but now we can go Dig against the Magnemite and completely destroy it in a single hit. Haunter comes out. We can Dig here as well, knowing that it's going to go down in a single hit once we actually manage to connect. Now we can go Thundershock on the Sneasel. It looks like a 3-hitter here. This Pokemon does have pretty reasonable special defense. Maybe Dig was better there. Still, we do take that one down. We get to the Meganium. I'm going to just bite this Pokemon. We get a flinch. We get a critical hit as it poisons me, and then we just knock it out the next turn. So it would normally be a 4-hitter on the Meganium with the bite. It's a 3-hitter when we get the crit there, and that is perfectly fine by me. We can now move on in the game. I don't expect any of these randos now to stand up very well because most of them don't have great special defense. The Mucks are pretty bulky, but even there, we should be able to get through eventually, and we should be able to go straight to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni and just show him another legendary Pokemon. Like, he's gonna be so envious. Clearly, if he could just get one of these, his boss would clearly reinstate him and come back to lead Team Rocket. But the fact that, you know, he's been sitting here for like 20 years trying to get his boss to come back, I think he should take a sign. Obviously, in Gen 1, Red just destroyed him so badly that he refuses to ever come back out of hiding again. And sure enough, we make it to the final Rocket Executive. We actually had one reset on the trainer just before him, but it was just due to getting paralyzed by glare and not being able to move for like 4 turns in a row. So take that for what you will. Ultimately, we can get the job done, and now we've made it to this final Executive. Let's see if we can get the victory here or not. First up, he has the Houndour. We're just going to go Dig on this Pokemon and get an easy 1-hit KO. That brings out the Coughing next. I'll just go for Thundershock here. It's going to be a 2-hitter, but we'll easily get the victory. And finally, that brings out the Houndoom, where the only play is to go Dig. It misses the Ember. We don't quite get the 1-hitter, but we'll just be able to knock this one out after that with a Thundershock, and that is a super easy victory as we get through Mr. Wannabe Giovanni. Now we've got to go to Clair, though, and I'm not sure how we actually go. We might have to upgrade the Thunder in order to deal enough damage against that Kingdra. Obviously, we can go for Bite strats before that, but I'm not sure what ranges we're going to get. We might be needing like a 2 or 3 hit KO on each of those Pokemon, in which case we could be in kind of trouble here. We'll just have to see if we can get the luck or not. Given our stats, we really do want to use special moves as much as possible, but it is always at least a possibility that we end up going for something like the Max Friendship Return or something in order to get through this section. We'll just have to see. Like here, even against the Dratini's, we're getting 2 hit KOs with the Bite, so it might be that we need a stronger move to reliably get through these randos, even in the gym, much less the gym leader herself. And that's where a Max Friendship Return could come in for this Pokemon. Like just the trainer before Clair takes a ton of resets to get through because of the fact that we keep missing turns due to paralysis. I'm throwing on the Paralyzed Cure Berry. I'm going to try Clair one time as I am, because maybe with the right flinches from Bite, we can manage to get through, but I don't expect this to be a great fight. We're just going to have to see how this goes. So Clair attempt number 1 right here. We go for Bite on the first Dragonair. It goes Slam against me. That's kind of nice. Now it goes Thunder Wave. We heal with the Paralyzed Cure Berry. That brings out the second Dragonair. It misses Thunder Wave once. Now it hits the Thunder Wave though. It misses Slam after that. That's perfectly fine. We get a level up and learn Spark, which we will learn over Thunder Shock here. We get slammed by the next Dragonair and slammed again. We're kind of happy this Pokemon doesn't know Dragon Rage at least. And once we manage to get to the Kingdra, it goes Dragon Breath and gets a crit to end me. I think we need a stronger move here. While we could argue for Iron Tail, it is less accurate than the Max Friendship Return. Though I don't know, it is fairly strong. Maybe that's good enough to get us through at this point. Let's just test it and see what kind of damage it does. I'm going to throw this on over Leer at this point, so let's just see if that is enough to maybe get a better range, since it will be significantly stronger than the Bite. Maybe it's just a 2-hitter and we get through with a better range like a Bite, Flinch plus an Iron Tail. Let's find out. So back to Clair again. I'm going to try the Iron Tail just to see what it does. It does over half to the first Dragonair, so we do get to at least take that Pokemon down, and it does open up the possibility that a crit could take these ones out. Maybe Bite takes them down from that range. I'm going to level up and learn Spark still, but now let's just go for Bite once just to see how much it does, and if Iron Tail can knock them out after that. It does manage to be a 2-hit KO, so we get to the Kingdra on better health. It goes Smokescreen this time, Smokescreens again. We hit Spark, doing about a third as it goes Dragon Breath. We could get the paralysis with the Spark as well. We're surviving so far, but now it goes Surf as we get on low health. It doesn't get paralyzed and we get Hyper Beamed down. We're going to have to try this again, but that may be the strategy now. Bite into Iron Tail to get through this one. So we're just hoping that the Bite will get the flinch, and otherwise we can knock out the Pokemon the next turn with Iron Tail. This time we still just get paralyzed. I'm going to reset in that case. Let's try this again, hoping to get the flinch on at least one of these Dragonairs. I don't think it's too much to ask for one flinch here. This time we get a Thunder Wave miss and a crit on the second Dragonair. I'll take that. So we've made it to the third Dragonair with no paralysis. This one does hit the Thunder Wave on me. I'm going to have to switch to Iron Tail. We missed once, but we hit the next one. So we do take that one down. We're back to Kingdra. It goes Surf, which does significant damage though. If it just goes all in on the Surfs, I get wrecked. So we're going to have to try this one again. Finally, in the 6th attempt, we get to the Kingdra without paralysis. So we outspeed, we hit Spark. It's going for Smokescreen, of course, but we're going to take it to very low health as she goes for the Hyper Potion here. We paralyze the Kingdra, we hit it again, and now we just need one last hit with anything and we simply win. So it takes 6 attempts to get through Clair there. It's not the prettiest fight, but we do ultimately get it to go. It's just because we don't get anything super strong with Raikou there, but in the end, Iron Tail can get the job done as a stronger physical move without having to go all the way to Max Friendship Return. And I think the Iron Tail actually makes a lot of sense on this Pokemon. It's going to match up much better against some of the Pokemon we don't have good moves against. I'm thinking about like Onix on Bruno's team, for example, as a Pokemon that we don't really have any good moves for. Like Dig probably won't deal enough damage, so Iron Tail might be enough to get us through there. And then if we just need a physical move on something at some point where we, aren't dealing enough damage, damage with one of our other moves, we can go for the Iron Tail and try to YOLO into that strat. So we'll just have to see how it goes. When we get to Lancey Boy at the end, at least our electric type moves will be neutral against everything when they're not super effective. So we will have chances on that fight. But honestly, I think we mostly just run with this set that we've currently got and see if it works as we get into the league. Anyway, we make it to Rival 5 here and we're ready to test this out with our Raikou. Let's see if we can get the first attempt victory here where we could Iron Tail on the Sneasel, for example, to take it down. But let's see how this actually goes. So Rival 5 attempt number 1, we go Iron Tail on Sneasel. That's an easy one-hit KO as we get to level 42. Magneton comes out next. I'm going to go for Dig, and this is a one-hitter. That's perfect. Now the Haunter comes out. We'll stick with the Dig here since it's physical, and we'll one-shot that Pokemon. That brings out Kadabra. I'm going to Iron Tail here and just destroy it in a single hit. Meganium, I guess we can Iron Tail here as well. It doesn't do great damage. It looks like a 3-hit KO, but we're ultimately going to get the victory on that Pokemon. That brings out the Golbat. We can switch to Spark here and get a one-hitter as well. So just like that, we beat the Rival on the first attempt with Raikou. It's ready to move on to the league. We're going to have to see how it goes. I think we've got reasonable chances. Like I said, Iron Tail should answer the Onix on Bruno's team. I think our electric type moves will be good enough everywhere else. If we struggle against anything, it could be like the Hitmontop using Dig and the Detect strats, though we get Detect as well. So we could just cheese that Pokemon if it does decide to go for that strategy. We could just throw on Detect over one of our other moves to get an advantage. So we'll just have to see how that goes. For now, though, Raikou's through. We're ready to now move on to our fire types. Let's look at Entei and Moltres. So first up, we're going to do the Moltres here. We're coming in with Wing Attack, Ember, Agility, and Mud Slap. We'll just have to see how this goes. We avoided learning Fly for now on the basis that the Wing Attack is pretty close in power, but I'm not sure how this is actually going to go for us. By a level up, we're only going to get Endure that comes in at level 37. I'm not sure that's going to be worth it for us. Fire Blast is obviously available as an upgraded move if we need it. We're not going to get to Flamethrower until level 49, so we've got a little bit of time before that comes in during the league. Otherwise, something like Max Friendship Return could come in on the moveset depending on what we need when we get to Claire. We'll just have to see how she goes. But for now, I think our moveset is good enough to get through these randos. So let's just make our way up to the Marlboro Man. And sure enough, we make it to the Marlboro Man with no issues other than the spinner. So let's see if we get the easy victory. Now he leads off with the Coughing. I'm going to try Ember here to see what it does. It's not quite a one-hitter. We have the Charcoal on already, so we can't power up this move anymore. Still, we'll get 2-hit KOs here. We could get a crit as well. We get poisoned on this one, though, so that's pretty bad. And this makes the argument, at least, for going for the Fire Blast, just to be able to get better ranges on opponents like this. And ultimately, the accuracy drop plus the poison does us in. And it turns out that he's going for an awful lot of strong moves on me and a lot of accuracy drops. So we're kind of getting wrecked by the Marlboro Man here. Like I said, Ember is a 2-hit KO, but it's not looking great to get through this fight. The Weezing misses one tackle, but we're already on low health due to the poison and we get Explosion. So we simply go down a second time. So I really am thinking that Fire Blast is going to be required here unless we get crazy luck in this one. It does make too much sense on this Pokemon, but this time we're getting through to the Weezing with no accuracy drops and no poison until the Weezing poisons us. Sludge still does a lot of damage, but we do manage to get through that Pokemon at least. We've made it to the second to last Coughing. It just goes Tackle and gets a crit, but we still take it down. And the last Coughing here, it goes Smog, and that finally gives me the victory against the Marlboro Man. It just took a few attempts to get it to go. Still not the prettiest fight, and I'm not sure how we're going to match up against the Rival in the basement. We're just going to have to see how this goes. Obviously, Magnemite's a non-factor. Wing Attack should take out the Haunter very easily. I think we get through Sneasel just fine. It's really about the Feraligatr and the very first Golbat, so let's see how they go. So first up on the Golbat, I'm going straight for Wing Attack here. It does about half. We get confused by the Confuse Ray. We hit ourselves once, but we snap out of confusion, so we take that Pokemon down. That brings out Feraligatr. The one advantage here is that it only has Water Gun as a super effective move. We look like we're getting a 3-hit KO here, and I think we've got a good matchup against everything else after this. So we should be fine. The Magnemite comes out next. We just go for the Ember in one shot. That brings out the Haunter. We go for the Wing Attack and don't quite get the one-hitter. That is kind of embarrassing, but now we can get the Ember that doesn't quite one-shot against the Sneasel, and it knocks me out with a Feint Attack. So we actually lose due to the fact that we didn't one-shot there. That is kind of sus. I'm not gonna lie, that was ridiculous. Still, at the end of the day, maybe we just give a bitter berry in order to avoid the confusion, and maybe that gives us a chance. Let's try this again. This time we get crit by the Golbat though, so we're probably going to lose again because we don't have enough HP unless we get a really lucky range against the Feraligatr. We're on lower health this time than last time, but who knows? Maybe it was a range on that Haunter and we can get a better KO range this time. Nope, it still manages the curse on me, so I'm gonna need a one-hitter here to get through the Sneasel, and I do not get it, so I lose. So this looks at this point like we need a critical hit in order to win this fight, otherwise we're just getting completely wrecked. But we get a one-hit KO on the Haunter this time, so we're to the Sneasel with much better HP. We can go for anything. It tries to leer and then go for the quick attack. That's not enough. We easily win when we actually get the one-hitter on that Haunter, but maybe Fly turns out to be the play. I'm honestly not sure. We're gonna have to test and see. For now though, we should be able to get through all these randos without too much more issue, so let's just see how they go and if we can make our way to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni at the end. Now fortunately we do make it to the final executive with no issues, so let's just see how he goes here. I think Wing Attack and Ember will be enough to get through the team, but let's find out. So first up on the Houndour, we go for the Wing Attack. That is an easy one-hit KO. The Coughing comes out next. I'll go for the Ember. We just barely miss getting a one-hitter as he poisons me with a Sludge. That brings out the Houndoom. We go for Wing Attack. It's going to be a two-hit KO. It goes Bite with a crit, but we still tank it, and we're able to move on in this challenge. Now, however, is where we have the real issue for this Pokemon, I think, going into Clair's gym. We do not have anything that's that strong other than going for Max Friendship Return here. I think that's our only real play to try to get through these Dragonairs, because we've already seen that it's not likely that a Pokemon with this kind of attack stat is going to just one-shot there with like a Wing Attack against the Dragonairs. They're very likely going to be able to tank that with no issues. And honestly, even if we upgrade, we're not likely to be able to get the one-hitter though, so we may just need crazy luck with like Thunder Wave misses or something. The Kingdra is likely going to come out second because of the fact that it has the Surf as well, so the first two Pokemon are the real threats here. If we can somehow manage to get through that Kingdra though, we should have chances. We're just going to have to see how it actually works out. This could even turn into a Sunny Day sort of spot to try to get at least less damage from the Kingdra, or a Rest plus Mintberry spot in order to recover somewhere in the battle. It is kind of bad for this Pokemon that its worst stat is Special Defense here. That could actually spell some serious trouble for this one. We wish so badly that we had something like Hidden Power Dragon or Hidden Power Ice to try to get through this fight. And here on the Dragonair just before Clair, we can see that it's very likely a two-hit KO on the Dragonairs with the Wing Attack. So I'm gonna have to just throw on this Paralyzed Pure Berry and kind of hope that they miss when they try to go for the Thunder Wave, which is a 25% chance, but we're gonna have to stack a couple of those together to even have a real shot here. So Clair attempt number one, we go straight for the Wing Attack on the first Dragonair. It misses with the Thunder Wave, so we take that Pokemon down. The second Dragonair comes out. This is the Thunderbolt Dragonair. It hits the Thunder Wave, but we recover, so we get to knock that one out as well. We've made it to the third Dragonair that's going for Ice Beam here, but I guess it tried to Thunder Wave me, but it just missed. So hey, there we go. We managed to get to Kingdra on the first attempt. I'm going Wing Attack immediately. It goes Smoke Screen, which is kind of sus, but okay. It does over half when it does go for the Surf. I was hoping that she would go for the KO there. She did not, but we get the crit, so we beat Clair on the first attempt. Oh, Clair. She gets two Thunder Wave misses. She goes for Smoke Screen. We don't miss a single hit there. And more importantly, we get the crit after she Hyper Potions. Oh, Clair deserves that. She has been sitting here complaining this entire time. We finally give her one that she can legitimately go and complain to the old guys about, because this Moltres is hacking. Clearly, it says, I'm legendary, you are not. That's why I get this kind of luck. So with that, we are ready to now move on in this challenge, and we've got to go take on the rival. I don't know if we have to throw on Fire Blast at this point or not, but we'll just test everything and see. I think when we get to Willy Boy, there's a decent chance we end up going for a Hidden Power Dark with this Pokemon. It might be our best play, and then Fire Blast for a lot of the rest of the league to try to get through. We're just gonna have to see how it goes. We don't have any good moves to really cover for the Rock Ground type, and when we get to Lance, we just don't have anything, period. Like, everything on that team is made to destroy this Pokemon. So I'm going to guess right now that this one probably gets hard-walled at Lance. I just don't see a logical strategy that's going to get this Moltres through, but I could be proven wrong. We'll just have to test it and see when we get there. It's just that every single Pokemon on that team resists our fire type moves, and it's not like we get a super strong flying type move. I think Mint Berry plus Rest strats could always come in at some point, but that's honestly the best that I think we can do. And yet again, like a Hidden Power Ice or Hidden Power Dragon could really help us in that situation, but I think just the first Gyarados is gonna take this one down. We'll just have to see when we get there, but I get the feeling that poor Moltres is going to be wishing that it had Ho-Oh's moveset. Even Ho-Oh, though, might be getting completely wrecked there. Still, before all of that, we have to take on Rival 5. Let's see if we can get the easy victory here at least, and then move on to the league. So the Rival leads off with the Sneasel. I'm going straight for Ember here. It doesn't quite one-shot. He just barely survives. Still, we take that Pokemon down. That brings out the Feraligatr next. We go for the Wing Attack. This is going to be a 3-hitter. It goes Slash and Slash again. He's not even going for Water Gun at this point. That's perfectly fine by me, though. We can get to the Golbat, where Wing Attack looks like a 2-hit KO. Magneton comes out. We go for the Ember, and we get the 1-hit KO on that one. Haunter, we can go for the Wing Attack and destroy it, and that brings out the Kadabra. We hit Wing Attack and we get the easy win. So we do manage to beat the Rival on the first attempt. We're to the league. We're just gonna have to see how this goes as we go through the league, but I've got the least confidence of all the legendary birds in this Moltres right here. I'm hoping it proves me wrong. I'm hoping it gets to the post game, but I'm just saying I don't think the odds are in its favor. We'll just have to see. Still, with that done, let's now check in on Entei. So coming back with Entei in this one, we are running Headbutt, Leer, Ember, and Dig. We are more of a physical attacker with this Pokemon. Yet again, we have lower special defense. So I'm honestly not sure how this is going to work out, but we've got to get through all these randos first. Let's just see how they go. We do have the Iron Tail strats, so we could kind of repeat what we saw previously with the Raikou. And honestly, that might be our best play going through this one. And we might just need to upgrade the Headbutt to be max friendship return. I'm honestly not sure. We're going to get Stomp at level 41, but that is just the same as Headbutt essentially, so there's no reason to even learn that move. So I think just for the sake of getting through as quickly as possible, what we do is we throw on that max friendship return here. Since we're a physical attacker and since we don't have an answer to Clair, I think this is the way to go. I'm doing this on the basis of what we just saw with Moltres, the fact that we also have low special defense with this Pokemon, and the fact that we just don't have any better answers. I think this move at least gives us better chances to get through a bunch of these randos pretty efficiently, and when we get to the gym against Clair, at least we'll have a better move to use. We had Leer on the moveset, which is a pretty reasonable move to forget at this point in the game, so I think this is the way to go. So we make it to the Marlboro Man. I'm kind of interested to see how this moveset works here. Let's see if we can get the one-hitters or not. First up on the Coughing, we go for the return. It's going to be a 2-hit KO. Maybe Dig can get the 1-hit KO here though, since it is stronger. I'm going to try that and see. And here, no, Dig does not one-shot. We're going to be stuck with going for 2-hitters here on these Pokemon. We might be better in this case than going for the Headbutt on the Coughings. It looks also like we're just barely missing a 2-hit KO range on the Wheezing. So we might even want to go for a Pink Bow here to try to get the victory a little more efficiently on that Pokemon. Let's test it and see. So this time I'm just going to go Headbutt on the Coughing since we get the chance to flinch them in that case, since we know they're 2-hit KOs anyway. Now on the Wheezing, I'm going to try to go Return, but we can see even with the Pink Bow, it's just barely a 2-hit KO. Still, we managed to get to the second to last Coughing. We're headbutting, and as long as we get anything less than terrible luck here, we will manage to get the victory. So we managed to take him down on the second attempt. We're ready to get to the Rival in the basement. Let's see how this fight goes. We might need a Bitter Berry in order to get through the first Golbat. I'm not sure. We'll test it out and see. So Rival 5 attempt number 1, I'm going straight for return on the Golbat. This is a 2-hit KO. We can just headbutt it down from there. That will bring out the Feraligatr next. Let's see the range with return here. It does about half. We get a water gun, but I think we just knock it out after that. Sure enough, we do. Now we've got the Haunter. We're going Dig right here. It misses Curse while we're underground, and we one-shot. The Sneasel, we can come out and go for the Ember. It's not quite enough, but I guess we crit, so we get a one-hitter there. Nice. Now the Dig can completely destroy the Magnemite. We get through on the first attempt. Nice and easy. And now we can move on through these randos where headbutt and return should be more than enough for all of these random Pokemon. And then it's just about getting to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni, where I think we've got a perfectly good setup here. We'll just have to see how it goes. And sure enough, we get to the final executive after basically just 1-hit KOing or 2-hit KOing every Pokemon on the way up here with return. Now let's see how he actually goes. So Mr. Wannabe Giovanni leads off with Houndour. We go for return and one-shot that Pokemon. Out comes the Coughing. I go for return again and get the 1-hit KO. And that brings out the final Houndoom. Return one-shots here. Just like that, we managed to get the victory, and we're ready to move on in this one. It's worth noting that return is like 102 power, but then we're adding on the Pink Bow, and we're adding on the fact that we have the badge boost from Whitney, which makes it quite a bit stronger than that. It's why it's just slightly stronger in those cases against these Pokemon than Dig is. Even though Dig is 60 power and then gets doubled to 120, when you're stacking a 10 plus 12% on top of a 102 power return, that's when it becomes the stronger move. So we really would only ever want to use Dig in cases where it's either 4 times super effective or when our return is resisted. In basically every other case, we're just better off going for return against the opponent in front of us. Now Fire Blast will be able to change that calculus just a little bit because of the fact that it is a same type move. Same for Flamethrower if we get to that, but we don't get Flamethrower till level 51. I'm not sure if we'll get there naturally or if we'll have to throw on the Fire Blast first or something, but I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get to level 51 with a slow level of Pokemon like this until we get to like Bruno. I'm not sure we'll actually gain those levels against Willy Boy and Koga. We'll have to see what levels we get to in the league. We're certainly not going to drop early rare candies with this Pokemon though. That would be a complete punt against Lance, because I think the only chance we have against Lance really is the bite strats in order to try to flinch his Pokemon. But even then, we might not be able to get enough to actually get it to go. We might end up having to drop all of the rare candies right there to even get through the first several Pokemon. We'll just have to see when we actually get there. It could also be like a Sunny Day Fire Blast spot just on the basis that we can power up the move and undo some of the resistance there, but I don't think it's going to be very pretty no matter how we do it. For now though, we can use return to destroy all the randos inside of Claire's gym. Let's see how we do against the dragon type gym leader, especially when she has so many super effective moves against us. I'm not super confident in this one, but I'm really hopeful that we'll be able to one-shot the Dragonairs at least with the return. And just before Claire, at least we do one-shot the Dragonair, so we have a chance of maybe getting this to work. I'm still going to throw on a Paralyzed Cure Berry just to be safe. So I don't know, maybe the Pink Bow is just better because we might need the power boost. So I guess I'll stick with the Pink Bow. Let's just see how this goes. So Claire attempt number 1 on the first Dragonair, we go return. It is not a one-hitter, so we're going to have to headbutt here. We get surfed, and at this point I think we're just getting wrecked. The Kingdra comes out next and destroys me. Let's try this again with the Paralyzed Cure Berry, because that at least gives us the chance to get through that first Pokemon without the paralysis for the Kingdra, and then maybe we have to crit Kingdra. I'm not sure. Let's find out. So in this one, I'm actually going to go headbutt first against the Dragonair, hoping to flinch it. We don't get the flinch and we get the Thunder Wave, so we're going to have to knock it out the next turn, but we do take that Pokemon down eventually. Let's see what return does against Kingdra. It does nearly half. I'm going to headbutt here to try to get a flinch. We didn't get it. She goes for the surf, dealing massive damage. At this point, I think we headbutt for flinches. We do get the flinch, and we knock that Pokemon out. That gets us to level 41, where we could learn Stomp, but like I said, it's not really worth anything. It's the same power as Headbutt. Instead, what we'll do is we'll headbutt the next Dragonair. It goes for the Thunder Wave, and then gets Dragon Breath on me. I think we have to crit this turn if we're going to get the victory, and we miss with a return, so we simply lose. We're going to have to try this one again. So back to the Kingdra this time. Now that I know the ranges, I'm going to go for the 2 headbutts first, and then go for the return to try to knock this one out. We don't quite get that one. We need a flinch here. If we don't get a flinch on the Kingdra, we simply lose. We also lose if it just goes straight for 2 surfs. So we've got to get a little bit of luck just to have a chance on this fight. This time she doesn't go Hyper Potion, so we do knock that Pokemon out though. And we don't have Paralysis on yet, so we will get one free turn against one of these Dragonairs. We get it right here, so we get to knock the second Dragonair out. Third Dragonair comes out, we hit the headbutt. It goes for the Thunder Wave. Now we just need to move and hit return, and we do. So we finally managed to get through Clair. It's not the prettiest fight there, and it kind of shows how bad we're going to be against Dragon types later on. But for now, we did manage to get it to go with the combo of headbutt and return, and I think that's going to be the strategy for this Pokemon in the late game. Like, that's the only possible way I see it having any chance against Lancey Boy. We could throw on Iron Tail in order to get a stronger move against the Aerodactyl in particular, but that's really it. There's just not a lot available to this Pokemon at that point. So we're going to come and explain ourselves to these old guys, and they're definitely going to tell us all about how we don't stand a chance against Lance, but maybe we can prove them wrong. It's going to take, like I said, a lot of luck to get to that point and have a chance. There could be a Sleep Talk Rest Mint Berry strat whereby we're trying to rest and Sleep Talk and then have like return as our only attacking move and hope that that allows us to simply heal enough to survive, since you can use rest while using Sleep Talk in this generation in order to gain back some HP. I'm just saying that it's not likely to work. That's at least my feeling right now. We'll see if that changes as we get deeper into this. Maybe my Arcanine will prove that it is actually a viable strategy against Lancey Boy, but my Arcanine is going to have Dragon Breath, so it will at least have a chance. Still, for now, we make it to the rival. We're ready to try this fight. I think I give a Pink Bow again on this Pokemon so that maybe we can deal more damage. Let's just see how this goes. So first up on the Sneasel, I think our best play is just to go return here. We get the one-hit KO, getting to level 42. Out comes the Feraligatr. We hit return, doing about half. The Water Gun doesn't do that much, so we take it down nice and easy. That gets the Golbat out next. We'll go for the return. This is a two-hitter. It confuses me, but I do knock that Pokemon out. Now we've got the Haunter. We really want to dig here. We do manage to use Dig and then knock that Pokemon out the next turn. Kadabra is going to get wrecked by the return as well. And now we'll just go for Dig on the final Magneton, since it's the strongest move, and it does manage to get the victory. So just like that, we've gotten through the rival. Entei is standing on the steps of the league. We're gonna have to see how this Pokemon goes, but I think we're gonna ultimately prove that Entei is worse than Arcanine, something that I've known since I was like 9 years old, but I think a lot of people maybe never realized Arcanine is the one. It was the original legendary. It was supposed to be stronger than Mewtwo. It was supposed to be stronger than Arceus. It was supposed to be stronger than any Pokemon you can enter the name of, because it's just that legendary, clearly, but they scrapped that at the last minute apparently, even though it's literally the legendary Pokemon. Entei has been trying to live in its shadow for, you know, the better part of 20 years now, but it's not going to really shine at the end of the day. I think that the Arcanine overtakes it. We'll just have to see. We do get access to Solar Beam with this Pokemon. We could go for some like Sunny Day Solar Beam strats. We'll just have to see if that works for anything, but like I said, I'm just not confident in this one. Still, that does it for our 6 legendaries. Let's see our results so far. So with the legendary birds and legendary beasts done, we are now up to 122 Pokemon getting through this section legitimately, which means that when we add just 4 more Pokemon, we will be over half of the Pokedex legitimately beating this section of the game. That is kind of nuts if you ask me, but I think it's kind of fair now that we've seen what Claire's like. She really just doesn't do any work here. Still, with that, I think it's now time to look at our pseudo legendaries. We're going to do the Dragonite and the Tyranitar first, and then we'll step down through Dragonite's evolutionary line. The big issue here is that we have weaknesses against Claire with both of these, but we also have super wide move pools, so I think we'll be able to get the job done, but we're gonna have to test this out and see, starting with that Dragonite. So here for the pseudo legendaries, I'm going to start off with the Tyranitar. We're coming in for this one with Rock Slide, Dig, Headbutt, and Screech on the moveset. We will learn Scary Face in this section, but that is it as a slow level up Pokemon. Earthquake will be available as a TM as we go through this one as well. We can also learn Dragon Breath once we get through the gym. We have access to Surf if we really want it, and we can learn things like Fury Cutter here. We're just going to have to see how this kind of goes as we go through this section, since we don't get any ice type moves until Ice Beam in the post game. So we're just gonna have to see how this goes. Maybe Stab Rock Slide is enough to get us through Clair, but we've got a lot of weaknesses in that fight. We're just gonna have to see if it's enough to get through or not. We will just also have to test as we go through this whole section just how good the Rock Dark type is in this section of the game. I think it crushes everything inside of the Rocket storyline though. Let's see if it works or not. If anything does hold this Pokemon back in this section, it really is going to be our lack of speed though, because we can see our speed is only sitting at 67 right now. It will be enough to outspeed against the Dragonairs on Clair's team. I'm just not sure about every major threat as we go through this challenge though. But here we make it to the Marlboro Man, and it's time to see if we can manage to get through. We do have a pretty massive attack stat that could make Stab Rock Slide good enough, or maybe Dig is good enough here. Let's test it and see. So up against the first Coughing, I'm going to go for Dig just to see what it does here. I came in without recovering PP, but we can see that move is not a one-hit KO. I still have Headbutt PP, so I'll just go for that. Against the second Coughing, it looks like we're simply getting a two-hit KO here with the Headbutt, so we can take that one down as well. The third Coughing comes out. We have the resistance to poison, so we don't take much damage here. We're able to knock that one out nice and easy as well. We flinch the Wheezing, and then we get a two-hit KO after that. It does Smoke Screen, which is kind of nerve-wracking because we're on low PP here. I'm going to Screech at the next Coughing just to make sure that a Headbutt that does hit gets a one-hit KO here. We take it down, and now I'm just going to go all in on attack against this last Coughing. I kind of want to Screech it though, just so that if I hit one of these Headbutts, I win. And sure enough, we get it, and we can move on in the challenge. So even when you come in without the proper PP in your strongest moves, you're more than capable of defeating that Marlboro Man there with the Tyranitar. And now we're ready to move on into the basement and rival number 4. So here against rival number 4, let's just see what we do with the Rock Slide on the first Golbat. It is a simple one-hit KO, getting us to level 35. Meganium comes out next. I'm going to stick with the Rock Slide here. It does half. We get the flinch, and we just get to knock that Pokemon out. Magnemite comes out next. Obviously, we just dig here and get the one-hit KO. That will next bring out the Sneasel. It goes Feint Attack, which does nothing. We can simply Rock Slide and end it, and that will bring out the Haunter. We just Rock Slide and yet again get a super easy victory. Tyranitar is far too powerful for the rival there, especially because Rock Slide can flinch in this gen, something that Gen 1 Rock Slide users really wish that they could have had. And with that, we're ready to move on through these randos. We should have some pretty easy wins here, but let's just see how they go. Now we get a level up and we could learn Scary Face. I'm not sure it's worth it though. Like, yes, we could lower the speed of opponents, but it's just on one opponent at a time. It might be much better to just stick with the Screech here, and ideally to learn another damaging move at some point. So I'm going to skip that move. Tell me if you think that's a mistake in the comments section down below. But for now, we're going to move on in this one to the final Mr. Wannabe Giovanni, who, when he sees this Tyranitar, he's basically going to point like a Japanese guy yelling Godzilla, because he knows that he has no chance of actually taking this one down. In fact, I'm willing to bet we one-hit KO all of his Pokemon. And funny enough, we are faster at this point than the Houndoom, so we should be able to get an easy victory there. We'll just have to see how it actually works out. And sure enough, we make it to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni. I'm not even going to respect him enough to save and heal before this. Let's just see how he goes. Of course, he leads off with the Houndour. We go for the Rock Slide and just destroy that Pokemon. Out comes the Coughing next. We'll dig right here, and that will be a one-hit KO. Perfect. That gets us to the Houndoom. We go for the Rock Slide, and he never stood a chance. Just like that, we force him to run away out of this radio tower, and we're ready to move on in this challenge. I'm not sure how we're going to match up against Clair here coming up in the next fight. Of course, we can be paralyzed. Rock type does not resist the electric type at all, and we're weak against the water type moves here, so we could be getting wrecked. We're just gonna have to see if we can deal enough damage or not. Maybe it's all about flinches with the Rock Slides. I'm honestly not sure, but we're gonna test everything here and see. Now, am I the only one who thinks that Tyranitar is basically just Pokemon's iteration of Godzilla? And clearly that's the reason it can swim, because of the fact that Godzilla swims in the original Godzilla movies. You gotta tell me down in the comments, but I just see too much resemblance between this Pokemon and the Godzilla franchise, so I have have to think that that's the actual reason why it can use that move. And it also makes sense then why it can do things like Hyper Beam, since that's very much a Godzilla thing to do. Anyway, we're going to make our way through the ice path really easily and make our way straight to Clair, where I'm hopeful that the rock slides can just one-shot against some opponents. We can throw on a hard stone if we really need to, and maybe that will be enough, but we'll just have to test this and see. At least on the Dragonair before Clair, we do get the one-hit KO, so I think we've got chances here with the stab rock slide. Let's just see how this actually works out for us. We're also going to be just faster than Clair's Kingdra at this point, so I think what we do is we throw on the hard stone, trying to deal as much damage as possible. Let's see if that gets us through. So Clair attempt number 1, we go for the rock slide on the first Dragonair. It is a one-hit KO. Out comes the Kingdra next. We hit the rock slide doing half. It goes smoke screen, but we simply knock it out the next turn, getting to level 41. The next Dragonair comes out. We miss with the rock slide. It goes for Thunderbolt here though, and it's doing very little. Kind of makes sense. You can't take down Godzilla with just electricity. The problem is we're missing all of our rock slides. We finally managed to hit and take that one out. The final Dragonair comes out in ice beams, and we miss the rock slide again. That's the only reason we lose, is because of the smoke screen. Let's try this again. Next attempt, we flinch the Kingdra. She goes for the hyper potion. Then we flinch it again. So we managed to simply take it down. Now, if we just hit, we will knock out these Dragonairs. We get the second Dragonair down. Third Dragonair actually gets hit this time, and it just barely misses the range. It's actually a range on the Dragonairs. Still, we're on high health. We can just headbutt that Pokemon down, but ultimately the hard stone probably made an impact there. But as I've mentioned many times, when you put on these like power boosting items, you know, the pink bows, the hard stones, etc., they usually don't eliminate ranges. They just make the range slightly better. That's it. So in this case, it probably was going to be a very bad range before we put that item on, and now it is a really good range when we do have the item on, but we still can miss the range to get the one shot, which is nuts. Still, we get through, so I'll take that. Let's see if we can now make our way through Rival 5 and stand on the steps of the league. If we get to Willy Boy, I can basically guarantee a victory there, because Will is not going to want this action from this Godzilla Pokemon coming into his little room there at the Elite Four. And if we can manage to get to Lancey Boy, there is a chance that the stab with Rock Slide, if we can just manage to get the hits, will be strong enough to actually knock out his Pokemon. We'll just have to see. I have a little bit of hope in this Pokemon just because its stats are so good, but there are no guarantees for this one, because we do have to take on Bruno with the 4x weakness to fighting, and it's not like we just have a guaranteed KO move for the fighting types. We're gonna have to test everything when we get there to see if we can get the luck to get through, but I at least think we have decent chances in that section of the game. We'll just have to see. Still, before all of that, we've got to go take on the Rival, where we have a pretty good matchup. I think we're just gonna have to see if it's enough in the end. We will get crunched at level 47, but that will be a little bit late for the Willy Boy fight. But I think we can get through Will as well once we get there with no real issues. So I think we've got all the moves that we need to completely destroy Rival 5's team here on the first attempt, but we'll just have to see. Maybe he gets something lucky and he actually manages to pose some threat to us. I'm just not really holding my breath here. I should also note I'm getting access to Earthquake right now, but I will not learn the move just yet. I'm going to wait until the point where Dig is no longer viable. Ideally, we wouldn't learn Earthquake at all during the league and save that for the post game when we actually get to Kanto, since we aren't going to be able to use a ground type move against Lancey Boy, but we'll just have to see how it actually goes. For now, though, we've got to take on Rival number 5. He sends out the Sneasel. It is faster. It's setting up Fury Cutter, but I managed to knock it out with a Rock Slide. That brings out the Meganium second. We're faster than this Pokemon. We do about half. It goes for the Reflect. Good strategy, but then we get it to flinch and we just knock it out with 2 more Rock Slides. Now we've got the Golbat out. We hit the Rock Slide and destroy this Pokemon, or so I thought. It actually survives with just a sliver. We'll headbutt it down from there. That will bring out the Magneton. We can go go for Dig. Clearly, the Golbat only survived because of the Reflect, but Reflect fades, so we can knock out Magneton in a single hit. Kadabra, we'll just go for Headbutt, just disrespect that Pokemon. And now the Haunter, Rock Slide is just the one-hit KO there, so we can simply get through, and we're on to the league. And with that, like I said, Willy Boy, I don't think he stands a chance. I think we match up well against Koga. Bruno's gonna be the question. Can we get through Bruno? We don't usually ask that question when we play Pokemon, but this is one case where that might actually be relevant because of the Rock Dark typing. He might just be able to high jump kick or cross chop us into oblivion, and we might be looking for some one-hit KOs there. I'm honestly not sure. We're just gonna have to test it when we get there and see. For now though, Tyranitar moves on. Let's check in on our Dragonite. But now it is Dragonite time. Let's just see what the moves are on this Pokemon. We are coming in with Fire Punch, Fly, Twister, and Surf as our moveset, and we're going to have to see how we actually go through this next section. Now, because we can fly, we're going to pretty easily be able to get back to Goldenrod. Obviously, I added on Surf in order to get through Jasmine as well as the Fire Punch. We can always swap out the Elemental Punch here, though. So Ice Punch might be the play when we actually get to Clair. Fly is a same type move. Twister also same type, even though it's quite weak. I'm not sure it's going to be strong enough to do anything here. We learn Agility at level 38, and that could just go on over Twister at this point. Though I don't know, I'll maybe test that move just to see. And then Surf, obviously we can use the move deleter to get rid of that move if we want to. Since I don't expect it to be super useful in this section, I think the Fly is the main strategy through this part of the game. We obviously have the much higher attack stat with this Pokemon that's its claim to fame, but we'll just have to see if we're actually dealing enough damage or if we run into a wall at some point in this section. Now, Agility is a move that I will be looking to learn when I get access to it because it is part of my late game strategy with this Pokemon. I think we get to Lance, set up the Agilities, then go for like a Thunder Punch, Ice Punch to knock everything out. That may be all that we actually need with this Pokemon to get a really easy victory in the late game. Still, for now, we're gonna have to get through this section. We've made it to the Marlboro Man. Let's just see how he goes with our Dragonite. So here against the Marlboro Man, he has much better defense than special defense. So I'm going to see what this Surf does here since it's our strongest special move. It's not quite enough to knock out the coughing here. Maybe Mystic Water would get the job done, but at the end of the day, maybe Fly just is the better move because of our stats. It turns out to also not quite be a one-hitter though. So we're going to just have to go with whatever we can. Twister will two-shot here. It does have a chance to flinch the opponents. So maybe that is the best play. We get poisoned this time and knocked out, so we're gonna have to try this one again. Here it does look like the Surf can be a range on these coughings though, so I guess we go with Surf and just hope that we get the right ranges. The Wheezing is a simple 2-hit KO with Surf here, and then if we just get the right ranges on the last two coughings, we will be able to get the victory. And just like that, we're ultimately able to get through. If you're worried about the time, it's just because I got a phone call in the middle of the fight and had to take it. But with that, we're now ready to move on. We can take on rival number 4 here, where I think we're going to have a pretty easy time. We should have all the moves that we need to get through here, but let's just see how this actually works out. So first up, we get the Golbat out. I'm going to simply go for Fly here. It's not a one-hitter, but the Wing Attack doesn't do that much. Fire Punch can knock that Pokemon out after that. That brings out the Magnemite. We'll just stick with the Fire Punch here and get the one-hit KO. Haunter comes out next. Fly, I think, is the best play. It just one-shots once we come back down. Now we've got the Sneasel. Fire Punch is not quite a one-hitter, but it will get the 2-hit KO, and we don't take much damage. So with that, we get to the final Meganium. We go Fly, and that is a one-hitter. Meganium, sure, it's weak to Fly, but honestly, the Feraligatr and the Quilava don't have anything good against this Pokemon either, so there's no way that they were going to be a wall for us. I think the Rival is like the least consequential opponent for this Dragonite of everything in the game, so just take that for what you will. With that done, we're now ready to completely stunt on the rest of these trainers down here. I think we'll get a super easy victory, but let's just see how it goes through the rest of this section. Now here via level up, we do learn agility as well. It's not going to be a move that's super useful in this section, but I do think it has value as we continue through the challenge. So I'm going to simply move on with that agility on the moveset. I threw it on over Fire Punch for now. I think when we actually get to Clair, what we do is we use the move deleter to forget Surf and throw on the Ice Punch at that point. That will be perfectly fine for that gym. And then we can always switch in elemental punches as we go through the league, as well as maybe getting a stronger dragon type move with the Dragon Breath. Maybe that works on Lancey Boy. We'll just have to find out. And with no issues, we make it to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni. We're going to show him our legendary dragon here. He doesn't know that it's actually just pseudo legendary, but I mean, we saw Lance put the absolute fear of Dragonite into these Team Rocket members in the anime, so I'm sure we're going to do it with our Dragonite as well. Let's see how it goes. So first up on the Houndour, we'll simply go Surf on this Pokemon and one shot. That will bring out the Coughing. We can stick with Surf right here, also getting the one-hit KO, and that will bring out the Houndoom. We Surf, and that Pokemon never stood a chance. We easily get through on the first attempt, and we're ready now to move on in the game. Now, I'm just going to test and see if the Twister is enough to get us through when we get to Clair's gym, just because I'm kind of interested. It is the same type move, as well as being super effective against the dragons. So maybe it turns out to be enough. This is like the one case we actually get to have a super effective move against that Kingdra as we go through it. So it might turn out that it's simply too weak and there's no point in actually using the move, but we won't know until we actually try it properly. The main point here is that after the stab typing, it's not like the Ice Punch is that much stronger. I mean, it is a fair degree stronger, but not strong enough that it would make a massive difference. I don't think, at least not against the little Drattinis. But let's see how this actually goes. And sure enough, Daddy just comes in and beats up on all the little Drattinis here with the Twister. So we're going to be able to get through this, I think, pretty easily. We'll just have to see how it actually works out in the end. But I think we're getting to Clair just fine. The question is the Twister enough for her dragons? And of course, on the Dragonair just before Clair, we see it is not enough to get the one shot. It is a move that can flinch though, so there is a possibility that maybe that gets us through. I'm going to give a Paralyzed Cure Berry though. Let's just see how this fight actually goes against Clair. So Clair attempt number one, I'm going to lead off with Twister on the first Dragonair. It does a little over half. We're able to knock that Pokemon out from there. Next, let's just see what we do with Fly, given that our attack stat is quite a bit higher and the powers are pretty close. Fly is enough to one-shot against the Dragonair. So the third Dragonair comes out, we simply Fly and knock that Pokemon out. And I think that tells us everything we need to know here. Fly is superior to Twister, even when Twister is super effective, at least from the looks of it for now. So we'll simply Fly against the Kingdra, doing about half. It's Smoke Screens. I'm going to Twister here, and we get the critical hit to knock Clair out, and she didn't even deal a single point of damage to our Dragonite. She's going to complain, but we're going to tell her we're the superior Dragon Master here. I mean, we're literally, you know, like the greatest Dragon Master ever to live. Lancey Boy, complete joke. Clearly, our Dragonite is better than his. And with that, we can move on in this challenge where I think we can just keep beating up on everything and getting super easy wins. But we'll have to see how this actually goes. We've got the rival out next. Like I said, I would most likely forget Surf at least after this next battle so that we could go for more physical coverage, because we can get things like Iron Tail that are physical using our higher attack stat. Dragon Breath is now available as a same type TM that's a little bit stronger than what we're using so far, and even Dynamic Punch strats could be good on this Pokemon in the right situations. Now that we've beaten Clair, we can also get a Dragon Scale if we really want to in order to increase our power more, so we'll just have to see how this actually works out for this Pokemon. And here we easily make it to the final rival, so let's just see how he goes with this Dragonite. We come in first against the Sneasel. I'm just going to go Fly here and get the easy one-hit KO, getting the level 42. Golbat comes out next. I'll stick with the Fly. We miss. We get confused. That is terrible. Now we hit ourselves. This is kind of the biggest problem of this Pokemon. And it turns out to be a two-hitter here. We'll just use Twister to finish that Pokemon off. Out now is the Magneton. I'm going to go Surf on this Pokemon. It doesn't get the one-hitter and we get paralyzed. Still, we will knock that Pokemon out eventually. Haunter comes out next. We Surf and knock that Pokemon out. Kadabra, I think we just stick with the Surf here. We're just getting destroyed by the Curse and we lose. There's a simple solution. Throw on a Paralyzed Cure Berry and that should get us through this one just fine. Let's try this one again. So back again, we will once again just fly on the first Sneasel. We'll go for the Twister for the chance to maybe flinch. We get a nice crit on Golbat and we can just two-shot that Pokemon. That brings us back to the Magneton. We hit ourselves in confusion. We get paralyzed and we hit ourselves again getting paralyzed. I think we just reset at that point because of the confusion. So this time we're on low health because we hit ourselves in confusion like 4 times in a row, but we do manage to finally take out that Magneton. Now we can go for Fly against the Haunter and simply knock that Pokemon out. Kadabra, I'm just going to Fly here as well. It goes Future Sight, but that's not too scary. We can Fly now against the Meganium. Future Sight misses and we just get the one-hit KO. So just like that, we managed the victory and we're ready to move on in this one. So ultimately, Dragonite gets to the steps of the league without any major issues. Now we have to step down and see how our Dragonair does. And then finally, we'll look at the member pick Dratini and see if it can manage to get through. I have to think Dragonair should be perfectly fine here. It may need to go for a Blizzard strat or something, but we'll just see how it actually goes against Clair. So here with our Dragonair, we are coming in with Headbutt, Surf, Twister, and Dragon Rage as our moveset. Like I said, we may need to throw on a Blizzard here to have a decent chance against Clair, but for now, I'm just going to test this set and see how we actually go. I think if anything, Dragon Rage may be the move that falls off our moveset, just because it is fixed damage. It's not like it's guaranteed to do a lot for us, and we may need to upgrade our physical move. The Max Friendship Return is out there as a possibility if we need it. Still, at this point, we can generally 2-hit KO things with the Dragon Rage, so maybe that is the best play when we're going up against some of the more bulky opponents. We'll just kind of have to see. And sure enough, we get to the Marlboro Man here. I have to see if the Surf is going to be enough, but given our stats, I'm not sure it's going to be strong enough here because we don't have Stab with that move. So honestly, I think Dragon Rage might just have to go at this point. Like I said, we could learn Blizzard just because it is such a logical strategy for this Pokemon going through this section. So I think I'm going to go for that move. I'm of course basing this on the fact that we have lower stats than the Dragonite, and Dragonite wasn't one-shotting against these Coughings, so I think we need a stronger move to even really have a chance, but let's find out. So here I will go Blizzard on the first Coughing, and that does get a one-hit KO. The second Coughing we miss and get poisoned, but then we can knock that one out eventually. That will bring us to the third Coughing. We miss again thanks to the 70% accuracy, but we do ultimately take it down. Now on Weezing, let's see what Surf does. It is looking like a 3-hit KO, so we're going to want some Blizzards here. If we're going to get through this one, we simply get knocked out in the first attempt. Still, if we can get better accuracy luck with the Blizzard, we may just be able to get through with a better range on these Pokemon. It's certainly not impossible to get a run where you hit all the Blizzards and then just have a chance to easily whittle down the last couple of team members here. Blizzard, we can see, does about half against this Weezing, and then we knock it out. We've used all the Blizzard PP, but I think that's perfectly fine because now we've just got these Coughings remaining in front of us. We can go Twister if we really want to. I'm going to Twister first and then go for the Surf. We get the flinch on the last Coughing, and that allows us to get a very easy victory there. Now we're ready to move on to the Rival in the basement, where I think the Blizzard strats are going to be enough, but let's find out if that's the case or not. So Rival 4, technically attempt number 1. I took one reset because I came in again without healing. This time we missed the Blizzard on the Golbat. We missed the Blizzard again. We're going to have to actually hit the move. We're hitting ourselves in confusion. But once we do connect, that is a one-hit KO. Magnemite comes out next. I'm going to switch to Surf right here. And that is not quite a one-hitter, but we get a Sonic Boom, so we do get through. Now we get the Haunter out. I'm going to stick with the Surf. It goes for Shadow Ball against me. Not what I was looking for. Sneasel comes out, it goes for the feint attack, and we simply get wrecked because our headbutt was not enough. Let's try this again, hopefully not getting so many turns of hitting ourselves in confusion. This time we do manage to just one-shot the Golbat. Now we get back to Magnemite. We may as well headbutt to try to get a flinch. We get it. Now we can simply Surf this Pokemon down. That brings us to the Haunter. I'm going to try Blizzard here. It's still not a one-hit KO, so we do get cursed, but now we can switch to the headbutt on this Sneasel. It's going to be a simple 2-hit KO to take that one down. And finally, we get the Meganium out. Let's see if Blizzard ends it. We miss. We get body slammed. We hit Blizzard after that, but it's not a 1-hit KO, and Curse ends me. We did get the freeze, but we would have needed to actually hit 2 turns in order to get a victory. So this whole fight is very, very YOLO at the end of the day. We're going to need a fair amount of luck to get this one to actually work, especially now that we know that the Haunter is not a 1-hit KO, no matter what we do basically, and that Sneasel is going to take a couple of hits. Still, we can get back to Meganium, only to miss the Blizzard. It goes Reflect, and we're going to go down once again to Curse when we do not get the 1-hit KO there. We would need a crit to one-shot that Pokemon. So this is where we can just see the lower stats are coming in and affecting the ranges a bit here. A crit on the Haunter, or in this case a Shadow Ball from the Haunter though, will give us a chance to get through. And now when we get back to Meganium, we don't have that timer on us, so we can go for the Blizzard. We get paralyzed by the Body Slam though. We get a move after that, however, and Twister ends it. So not great. It's not the prettiest setup there against the rival. That makes me nervous about the member pick Dratini that's coming up, because we don't have that many stronger moves here, but we'll just have to see how this actually works out. For now though, we should be able to get through the rest of these randos with this Dragonair. So let's just make our way to the end of this section. Now we do get a level up and learn Agility. I'm going to learn it over Headbutt for now, since that move is replaceable. And I think Surf is more important in this section of the game, though we can forget the Surf when we go up against Clair if we really need to. The big issue for this Pokemon is that it doesn't have a lot of physical coverage, in spite of the fact that it does have a higher attack stat, and its stab typing is also not physical. So I think it's better to not run with the physical move right now and just use the special coverage. And sure enough, we make it to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni, where we simply go for Surf on the first Houndour. That's an easy one-hitter. The Coughing comes out. I'll stick with Surf here. It's not quite a 1-hit KO, but we get the 2-hitter there, and that will bring out the Houndoom, where we just go back to the Surf and easily one-shot. Actually, we don't. It turns out to be a 2-hit KO in order to knock that Pokemon out, in spite of the fact that we had a really strong, super effective move. And that is the issue with this Dragonair. It just doesn't hit nearly as hard as Dragonite does. So I think we're going to have a lot more spots where it just doesn't quite get the ranges it needs and ends up getting completely wrecked. I do think this Pokemon could completely crush Lancey Boy if it does manage to get to him at the end of the game, though, on the basis that it does have access to Thunder and Blizzard. But even then, it's not like it's going to be perfectly consistent. We're going to be relying on moves that can miss a reasonable percentage of the time. So who knows? I'm not sure if this actually works out in the end or not, or if it's just so YOLO that we end up taking a ton of resets. We'll just have to see if we can even get to Lance, and then how many resets it actually takes on him. Agility should give us some real chances there though, because we can outspeed against the whole team. For now though, we've got to go take on Clair, where the Blizzard should help us a lot against the rando dragons. Even against the little Dratinis, we might just be able to go Twister to get the victory, but when we get to those Dragonairs, we're absolutely going to have to hit Blizzard and get the luck to knock them out with a single hit. Never Melt Ice might be useful here. I'm honestly not sure. It's just going to depend on the ranges that we see when we get there. Even Twister is a range on the little Dratinis here, so we're going to need a little bit of luck to get this to work out. Still, ultimately, we make it to Clair with no issues, so I think we throw on that Paralyzed Cure Berry and see if that's enough to get us through. It essentially buys us a turn to miss once. When we get to the Kingdra, we may be able to get a freeze or something, or maybe we can flinch with the Twisters to get a win. We'll just have to find out. So first up on the first Dragonair, I'm going for the Blizzard. We get the 1-hit KO there. I didn't recover PP coming into this, so we might be getting wrecked. Let's see if we can just Twister on the next Dragonair. It hits Dragon Breath, but we're able to simply knock it out in 2 hits. That will bring us to the third Dragonair. I'm going to hit Blizzard there just to knock that one out. Now let's see what we do against Kingdra when we hit Blizzard. It does slightly less than half. We'll Twister after that, but we miss, and then we get paralyzed by the Dragon Breath. Still, we hit the Twister only to get knocked out the next turn. A flinch might have given us a chance there, so we'll just have to see. But we definitely want to go in with all the Blizzards in this one if we're going to have a decent chance of getting through. The next attempt, we Blizzard down all 3 Dragonairs, so we get to the Kingdra on full health. We miss the first Blizzard here, and a critical hit Dragon Breath one-shots me from full health, so we really are going to need a lot of luck on this one. Next attempt, we're back to Kingdra. We hit the first first Blizzard. Now we go for the flinch. We get it, but now she has to Hyper Potion, of course. But then we get a critical hit. So in the fourth attempt, we actually managed to win against Claire in spite of the fact that she did just have us in a 2-hit KO range because of the flinch, because of her Hyper Potion, because of the crit. That is what we needed. Plus, we had to land the 3 Blizzards on the Dragonairs to have a chance there. So take that for what you will. This is not a great range, but at the end of the day, this Dragonair can get the job done. Like I said, though, I'm really nervous for Dratini now because I'm not sure that Dratini can actually pack the power to get the job done. So we're going to really have to test a lot of things here to see. So we're going to come down into the Dragon's Den. We're going to tell these old guys that we are clearly the superior dragon trainers to Claire, show them our Dragonair, and they're going to tell us, give him that badge, let him get that TM for Dragon Breath. Maybe that gives him a chance against Lance, though I think Lance has everything that he needs to destroy us. We're going to probably have to rely on Agility, Blizzard, and Thunderbolt strats to get through that one. We'll just have to see when we actually get there. But for now, we're ready to move on to Rival 5. Let's just see if we can get the nice, easy victory against him at least, and then maybe have a setup to get through the league. So Rival 5 attempt number 1 right here. I'm going to lead off with Surf against the first Sneasel. This is a simple 2-hit KO. Is it just Fury Cutters? That brings out the Golbat next. Let's go for the Blizzard. We miss, and we miss again, and we get confused. And at this point, I think we simply reset. We're probably not winning that fight. I didn't come in fully healed either, and we might need that Paralyzed Cure Berry or the Bitter Berry to get through. I think Paralyzed Cure Berry is more likely to be the correct play because of that Magneton. Still, let's just try this again and see. So this time we hit Blizzard on Golbat, and it is a 1-hit KO. Magneton comes out next. We hit the Surf, doing half. It goes for Thunder Wave. We heal with the Paralyzed Cure Berry and then just knock that Pokemon out. Haunter is out next. I'm going to go for the Blizzard just to see. We don't get the 1-hitter, but it goes Shadow Ball. So once again, we're getting through with no paralysis on this one. That is perfect. I'll stick with Surf on Kadabra. It's a simple 2-hit KO on that Pokemon. And now we've got the Meganium out. We go for the Blizzard. It's going to be a 1-hitter with a crit. So we get through the Rival in just a couple attempts there. Basically, when you don't get confused and hit yourself or get like critical hits from him, you're able to get through that fight. But Dragonair is definitely showing some cracks. It's definitely not up there with its evolved form. So we're going to have to see how this goes moving forward. For now, though, this Pokemon has managed to get to the Pokemon League. If we get really desperate in the next fight, we could always go for a Hidden Power Dark. Obviously, Twister can simply come off the moveset at any point here. I think before we go into the league, we also forget Surf. We just throw a different move on there. Honestly, Thunder makes a lot of sense. Fire Blast could make sense in certain situations. Iron Tail could make sense. Max Friendship Return could make sense. There are a lot of moves that we might want rather than Surf in a lot of spots during the league. So we'll also have to test that out as we go through. But for now, this Pokemon gets through. Now we have to check in on our member pick, Dratini. Now that brings us to Little Worm the Dratini. Now previously this Pokemon was being supported by channel member Darlex97. They decided not to re-up. It may have been while I was absent for like a couple months not being able to make videos, so take that for what you will. I will be running any Pokemon that has been picked up previously, at least through the end of the section. But then if a new channel member wants to pick this one up, just let me know in the comments. For now though, we're going to make our way into this section of the game where Little Worm is coming in with a moveset of Rain Dance, Twister, Thunder, and Hydro Pump. We obviously have a stronger water type move plus the Rain Dance. I still think we might have to replace Twister with Blizzard here to have a reasonable chance of getting through, though Agility is about to come in as well, and we may be able to get to Safeguard right at the very end of this section. And Outrage comes in at level 50, so that's actually a move that we might get by the time we get to Lancey Boy. That could be very interesting, but we're just gonna have to see how this goes. Obviously, with the difficulties we just saw from Dragonair, I think there's no way that we get through this without going for some sort of OP move on top of this. Like we can see Thunder is not one-shotting against these Raticates, so that I think tells us everything we need to know. This is not going to be an easy Pokemon to get through. Still, we at least can go for Rain Dance strats to guarantee that Thunder hits or to make the Hydro Pump stronger, so we do have some strategies in this section of the game. Still, if this one fails, we may need to upgrade our moves to actually get through here, and one strategy could even be to go all the way for like curse extreme speed with this Pokemon as a strategy to get it through, because I do think that would eventually get us through this section of the game, even if it's not super pretty to get the job done. Now here we do manage to make it to the Marlboro Man with no issues, and I'm very interested to see if maybe Thunder can take down the Coughings here once we set up the Rain Dance. So let's just test that and see. Otherwise, Hydro Pump does get powered up by the move as well. Maybe that gives us a chance. Let's just find out. So here we go, Rain Dance on the first Coughing. Let's see what Thunder does here. It is going to be a 2-hit KO with this move. Maybe the Hydro Pump is the way to go at that point. When he goes boom, we basically lose. He also loves to go for the Smoke Screen, which there's not a whole lot that we can actually do about that. So we might just be getting wrecked right here. Still, when we hit the Hydro Pump, it is a one-shot, at least on these Coughings with the rain going. So that gives us a chance, at least, as we get to the wheezing for the first time and the rain continues to fall. We missed the first Hydro Pump there. We'll go for the Rain Dance after that. Let's go for Thunder. It looks like this is going to be a 3-hitter as he Smoke Screens again, but we do knock that Pokemon out. We're to the next Coughing. We can knock this one out with a Twister after a Thunder, and then we will Rain Dance one more time on the final Coughing here. Go for the Thunder and then just Thunder it again, and there we go. We managed to get through on the second attempt there against that Marlboro Man. Now we're ready to move on to the rival in the basement. Now I don't expect this to be a super easy fight. I think we need a Paralyzed Cure Berry specifically for the Magnemite, though with rain we may just be able to knock that one out easily with a Hydro Pump. I'm honestly not sure. Let's test this and find out. So first things first, I'm going Rain Dance on the first Golbat. We are slower than this Pokemon. It hits a couple of massive wing attacks on me, and then Thunder is not enough to one-shot this one. So we're getting wrecked right now. That will bring out the Magnemite. We hit the Hydro Pump and we do one-shot there. That brings out Haunter next. It's faster and it simply knocks me out with a single Shadow Ball from low health. This makes me think that we're probably not getting through with this setup, at least not very consistently. I'm going to still test it a little bit more and see, but we might need a Quick Claw here to outspeed opponents. That might actually be the only way that we get through. And sure enough, after quite a few attempts, I'm not getting through here. Since this is no longer a supported Pokemon though, I want to try a different strategy. So I have changed my moveset to be a slightly different version of this Dratini with Extreme Speed, Curse, Rest, and Iron Tail. My logic here is pretty simple. We should be able to set up Curse enough to be able to survive against the physical hits of our opponents, use Rest in order to recover HP, Extreme Speed once we're set up to just destroy everything even with the Curse on, and then finally the Iron Tail if something is immune to the normal type. Let's see how this goes for our Pokemon. So here I'm going to lead off immediately with the Curse so that I get as much defense and attack as possible. So here we're just continuing to Curse over and over. Of course, if we get flinched, we're eventually going to get wrecked here though, so we're going to have to try this one again. Here we can see Extreme Speed does manage to two-shot there against the Golbat once we manage to get set up. I'm just going to Rest now against the Magnemite, but we are slower there because of the Curse, so we've got to be a little careful. We've got to get through with more HP than that. Here with this setup, we're able to get through the first two Pokemon. We get back to the Haunter here, where I'm going to go Iron Tail. I get the Quick Claw, so I just one-shot there. Now Sneasel, I don't think is very scary to us. I'm going to go for Curse again here, and then Rest just to get my HP back. It's going for Feint Attack, but I think I can survive. Here, when we do wake up, we can Curse the last time. Let's go for the Extreme Speed and destroy that Pokemon. And finally, we get the Meganium out. We don't quite one-shot, but at this point, we can go for anything. Iron Tail would get the job done. We just didn't manage to land the hit, so we lose. Let's make sure that we have the correct PP in our moves, though. Let's try this again. So this time, we get back to Meganium. We are cursed, but we're on about half health. We've set up 4 of our own curses for stat boosts so far. The PP is a little bit wrong here, but we have one more Extreme Speed to use. We get a nice hit there. We get Poison Powdered. Now I think we just need to hit this Iron Tail, and sure enough, we do manage the victory. So within the PP that we would have with these moves, it is actually possible to get the job done there. And with this strategy, I think we can YOLO through basically everything. Let's see how this goes through the rest of these randos. Now we could learn Agility, but I don't think we need Agility when we have Extreme Speed. So I'm just going to skip that move and instead just use the extreme speed to destroy everything that's in front of me. The only real issue with this strategy is that the extreme speed only has 3 PP, but I still think it will give us some really good chances to get through opponents once we actually get set up, and the fact that we have rest will help a lot in this challenge. So now our little Dratini that thinks that it is a Steelix is able to get to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni, where we just have to set up the curses and go extreme speed. I think we win. Let's see how this goes. So first up on the Houndour, I'm just going to go for 2 curses here as it goes feint attack. That's perfectly fine by me. Now let's go for the extreme speed. We one-shot that Pokemon. Out comes Coughing. We'll go extreme speed again. This turns out to be a 2-hitter, but we do manage to take it down. And now Houndoom, we extreme speed and easily win on the first attempt. And with this setup, I actually think we have a chance against Clair because of the fact that she's going to send out the first Dragonair that wants to go for the Thunder Wave strats. We may be able to just set up a couple of curses there and then manage to get through with the extreme speed after that. Basically, I think we just go for like 2 hits there. Maybe she misses a Thunder Wave and that gives us the chance. That's all we really need in that fight, I think. Still, we won't know till we test it out, but let's see how this actually goes. In fact, against that first Dragonair, I think what my strategy is going to be is to go in with a Mint Berry so that we can rest once to recover HP. That way we won't care quite as much if she gets a Thunder Wave or gets some damage on us even while we're trying to set up, and that may give us the chance that we need to actually get a victory. It depends on how many hits we can take from the Dragon Breath before we get wrecked though. For a lot of these fights though, we're basically banking on the opponents being kind of dumb in order to actually get the chance to set up and get this to work, so we're just gonna have to see how this actually goes. If we can manage to get the setup even once though, we should be able to sweep through the entire team, and that's basically the strategy at the end of the day. At least on the Dragonair just before Clair, I took a few resets. We have to set up 3 curses to be able to one-shot against that Dragonair. That makes me think that we might be getting a really tough range here against Clair. We're just going to have to see, but I think the Mint Berry strat is the way to go. Let's just see if this works out or not. So here against the first Dragonair, we actually start out faster than this Pokemon. We can go for Curse immediately. It goes for Thunder Wave. Now the Dragon Breath does massive damage to me though, and extreme speed at this point will not get the 1-hit KO. So what we really want is at least 1 miss from that Thunder Wave, and then for the Dragonair to try another Thunder Wave against us. We get the Thunder Wave miss this time, but then it paralyzes me the next turn, and I'm not going to be able to rest in that situation. Now we can try to go for the rest on the next turn, but that does require us to actually move, and it does depend on us actually being able to survive at least 1 turn here. Still, in this case, then it might be better to go for like a Gold Berry here to get some healing. That might actually be the better play so that we can survive 1 more turn to set up. That does allow us to survive to set up 3 curses. Now we can go for the extreme speed on that first Dragonair. We hit it on the second Dragonair, knocking that Pokemon out, getting to level 41. We are fully paralyzed on the third Dragonair, so we lose. Still, we can try this one again. Maybe we just have to crit at this point on the final Kingdra in order to get a victory. At the very least, if we're not fully paralyzed for a turn, we have a chance to knock out all of the Dragonairs, so we'll at least get a chance to see. And remember, there is a 25% chance that that first Thunder Wave simply misses, as it does this time, and if we don't get paralyzed by the Dragon Breath, we at least have a chance here. This time we do manage to knock out the third Dragonair, so we have made it to Kingdra. We hit the extreme speed and we do over half, so a critical hit there will get the job done. Now that we've got the Gold Berry on, I think we've got a chance. It turns out that on +3 attack though, this is a range against the Dragonairs. If we get a bad roll, we can actually fail to knock them out, so we should at least keep that in mind. We can see what Iron Tail does here. It does about half to these Pokemon, so there is a chance that we could simply get through with that setup, especially if we get the Thunder Wave miss. But even then, it's not going to be great. We would need to never get paralyzed so that we have a chance to actually get the KOs. Essentially, Clair is going for speed control here with the Thunder Wave. She's going for that move because we're faster, but when we start using the curses and become slower, she no longer wants to use that move because she thinks that she already has the speed advantage. Now, one other strategy we could try is, instead of rest, to use Ice Beam, giving us a chance to freeze the first Pokemon. Of course, if we don't don't get the freeze, we can still heal and get to the second Dragonair and get another shot at using the Ice Beam. And if we manage to get this to go, then we might be able to just set up really hard with the curses and actually get the victory. So this time we freeze the first Dragonair. Of course, it has to defrost very quickly, so we don't get any real advantage in terms of setting up with the curse. Still, we can knock that one out. We can knock out the next Dragonair as well, and the third Dragonair. We're just going to need a crit again on the Kingdra to get it to go. What we're really looking for is a long freeze that allows us to actually set everything up. This time we knocked out the first Dragonair, but then froze the second one. So we're going really hard on curse here as it stays frozen. And this time we've set up 6 stages of attack with the curse. I'm just going to Ice Beam this one down. Then let's go for the extreme speed on the next Dragonair. We have no paralysis. We're on full health, so we one-shot, and that brings us to Kingdra. And this time we can one-shot that Pokemon. So it looks like that is the correct play, actually, is to have the Ice Beam. There is absolutely no reason why we couldn't have Ice Beamed against the rival's Golbat and use that as our way to get everything set up. So I think this is perfectly legitimate. And with that, we're able to move on in the game. And I'm just saying, I don't think there's any point in the game so far where we wouldn't have been able to go for an Ice Beam freeze and then set up curse and go into the extreme speed to get the victory with this sort of setup. Like maybe Pryce would have been a little bit random, but I think we would have gotten it to go. So I think this is perfectly legit. Let's just move on with this setup now, because I'm just interested to see how far extreme speed Dratini can actually go here. I just get the feeling that if we get to Lance, we could set up on the first Gyarados. At that point, we could throw on Rest and then maybe just get a victory through that team. And if we ever get to Red with this Pokemon, I think we could survive against the Pikachu and get everything set up. Still, we'll have to see how this one actually goes if anybody wants to pick it up. At this point, I'm just kind of memeing because the moveset previously really was not looking good. And I don't think that even spending a lot of time on it would have gotten me through this section, but I think this strategy does. So let's just make it to the rival and see if we can actually get the victory here. Of course, he's going to lead off with Sneasel, but he's not smart enough to teach the Sneasel any ice type moves to cover this Pokemon. So I think we're going to get a super easy victory, but let's see how it actually goes. One other really good point of the extreme speed strat, by the way, is that it does avoid any random like getting flinched from the opponents because you're moving first, which is kind of OP as well. So here as we get to the rival, if we can just manage to set everything up, I think we've got decent chances, but let's see how this actually works out. So first up on the rival, he's got the Sneasel. I'm going to start cursing at this Pokemon. He goes quick attack. It doesn't do that much damage. Now he's going Fury Cutter, but I'm just letting him hit me a bunch of times while I build up my power. He misses a Fury Cutter there, so now he has to restart, and now we can just go for the extreme speed and destroy that Pokemon. That will bring out the Golbat next. We'll go extreme speed once again, completely wrecking it. Out comes the Magneton. This turns out to be a 2-hitter. I'm just going to go for the Iron Tail after this. He's going Sonic Boom, but once we manage the hit, we do take it down. Haunter comes out. We have to Iron Tail this Pokemon, but it's an easy one-hit KO. Kadabra, we can go extreme speed and destroy it. And now we've got the Meganium. We go extreme speed, and on +6, it's a one-hit KO. So just like that, we managed to get the victory. We're ready to move on to the league, where I think the strategy is very simple with this one. Freeze the opponent, set up Curse, and go for extreme speed. And the only cases where we can't go for that are going to be like maybe Bruno's Onyx. We might just have to switch into the Ice Beam at that point, and certainly against Karen's Gengar we won't be able to go for that, but against everything else we should have chances to set up with this sort of move set and possibly get a victory, keeping in mind we have Iron Tail in the back pocket. If we run out of extreme speed PP, we would probably PP up on the extreme speed here just to give us a little extra potential to use that move, and that might be all this Pokemon ultimately needs to get through the league, but we'll have to test it and find out, like I said, if anyone wants to pick it up. With that, I will say thank you to Darlax for supporting long enough to get this Pokemon all the way to the league. Hope you're doing well, and with that, let's see our progress so far. So with that, we have gotten our first 10 challengers through this section. The little Dratini jumps down into the completed member picks, and we see that all of our other challengers so far today have managed to get through without any major issues. I see a few cracks forming in some of the Pokemon as they get ready to go into the league, but we'll just have to see how they ultimately work out in this challenge. With that though, we're down to our last 5 Pokemon of this episode of the legit challengers, but before that, we should look look at our Vileplume, the brand new Blade Plume being supported by channel member Rob. We're going to pick it up just at the start of this section because we've already seen Vileplume get to this section of the game on minimum battles with another member pick. It was formerly supported by channel member Tamanoo, another channel member who's no longer with us, unfortunately. F in chat for Tamanoo, but it has been picked up by Rob, so I'm going to run it through this section, just picking up at Jasmine to see how it would do up to this point. Let's see how it goes. So here we are ready with the Blade Plume being supported by Rob Bomford, who has joined both here on YouTube as a channel member, but also on the brand new Patreon. I'm working on getting the Patreon updated so that we'll have all of the same ad-free videos that are here on YouTube, and people who join both get to save 2 Pokemon if they so choose. And with this one, we're coming in with Sleep Powder, Sludge Bomb, Hidden Power Ground, and Swords Dance. So we're changing our DVs just a little bit for this, but the idea is pretty simple. Put things to sleep, set up so that we can actually manage to get through everything, and then just kind of hope that we can manage to get the victories. We'll just have to see how it goes, but for now, I'm picking this up right here where we were previously in the post-Jasmine section. I may go back and redo the entire early game for this one later, but for now, just for the sake of time, we're going to pick it up right here. I'm pretty darn confident that we could get through to this point with this setup. And here, quite frankly, for most of these randos, we can pretty much just go straight for our Sludge Bomb and knock things out. And really, if we struggle with anything, we can go for Hidden Power Ground in a lot of these spots. The main problem is going to be Pokemon like Zubat or Golbat, where neither of our attacking moves are actually effective. But once we get set up, we can go just Sludge Bomb here and completely destroy that Pokemon. So I think we still have reasonable chances of getting through this one. Still, we'll just have to test this and see how it actually goes as we go through this. But I think we've got pretty reasonable chances of getting the job done. And of course, with no issues, this Vileplume makes its way up to the Marlboro Man. Let's see what kind of setup we get on this fight right here. So first things first, I'm going to put the first coughing to sleep if I can. I missed the first sleep powder, but now it does go to sleep. And now I'm just going to spam the Swords Dances here so that I have maximum attack power. Then we'll hit the Hidden Power Ground and just one-shot that Pokemon. The second coughing comes out. It also gets completely destroyed. The third coughing comes out, and we destroy that one as well. I'm pretty sure as long as we hit Wheezing, it's a one-shot. Sure enough, it is. On +6 attack, it never stood a chance. Now we destroy the next coughing that comes out, and the final coughing, we missed the hidden power, but that's the only reason we didn't complete the sweep there as we get to level 39 on that battle. And with that, we're now ready to go down to the rival in the basement, where honestly, like I said, I think that Golbat is going to be the actual hardest Pokemon for us. I think everything else, once we set up, is going to be a cakewalk. So I think this just comes down to sleep luck on the first Pokemon and then landing all of the hits. Let's see how it actually goes here and if we can get this super easy victory. So here I put the first Golbat to sleep. We will go ahead and set up all the Swords Dances while it's sleeping here. It finally wakes up and goes Confuse Ray, which is actually really good strategy. But our Sludge Bomb does get the one-hit KO. That brings out the Quilava next. We snap out of Confusion and immediately one-shot with Hidden Power Ground. We're going to completely destroy this Magnemite. That brings out the Haunter. We'll just stick with Hidden Power Ground here, getting the super effective one-hit KO. And what the heck? We can go for either move here on this Sneasel. Hidden Power Ground is more than enough to completely destroy that one and get us to level 40. And with that, we should have zero issues getting through the rest of these randos here. So it's just going to be a matter of making sure that I don't go into a fight without any PP. That's basically it. Otherwise, we should completely crush. We are also, of course, benefiting greatly from being in the medium slow level up group, which means we've got a massively high level for this point in the challenge. So everything is essentially just a one-hit KO. I don't think that Mr. Wannabe Giovanni can even stand up to this, but we'll just have to see at the end of this section. And sure enough, with no issues whatsoever, we make it to the final Rocket Executive here. Let's just see how he likes this flower that isn't using any flowery moves here. It's going for all-out physical attack. I don't think he can stand up to it. So first up on the Houndour, I'm just going to set up a single Swords Dance. He goes Ember, that doesn't really matter. We just go Hidden Power Ground and destroy that Pokemon. Out comes the Coughing, it also gets completely wrecked. And finally, we've got the Houndoom. It's faster, it hits the Ember, but it does not matter. We simply one-shot there and easily get through as we get to level 44. We're now ready to go to Clair's gym, where I think we're going to gain a level or two on the way to Clair, so we should outspeed even against the Kingdra. So I think we just go in with like a Paralyzed Cure Berry in case we miss a Sleep Powder or the first Dragonair wakes up. Then we just set up on that Pokemon and sweep through the team with the Stab Sludge Bomb. I think that will be more than enough to get the job done, but we'll just have to test it and see. So Clair attempt number 1 right here. We're just going to lead off with Sleep Powder on the first Dragonair. Let's now set up the Swords Dance. I'm going to try to set up all of them if this Pokemon doesn't wake up. Sure enough, it doesn't. Now we can just go Sludge Bomb here and knock that Pokemon out. I realized I didn't recover Sludge Bomb PP though, so let's see what Hidden Power Ground does. That still one-shots the next Dragonair, and we'll use it on the third Dragonair to take that one down. Now we've got the Kingdra in front of us. We go for the Sludge Bomb after a Dragon Breath, and we just one-shot. So we lost the speed flip there, but we still managed to get the victory nice and easy, and now we're ready to move on in this challenge. It turns out that Clair really isn't that bad for this Pokemon because we've got the sleep strats and everything, but with that, all we have to do is get through the rival now, and we will be ready to actually move on to the league with this one. And I think this one's gonna do pretty well, honestly. If we can just use like a Quick Claw to outspeed the first Xatu on Will's team and then set up with Swords Dance, we may be able to sweep through that team. When we get to Koga, we may have some issues because of the Crobat in particular. We'll just have to see there. Bruno should pretty much be a non-factor. And then when we get to Karen, I mean, we'll get the mirror match up against her Vileplume, but I think we will win that one. Then it's all just about Lancey Boy, and he leads off with the Gyarados that can't really do that much, especially if we put it to sleep. So I get the feeling we'll be able to set up and just completely stunt on that fight. We'll have to see obviously how it goes, but I do have a lot of confidence that this moveset is enough to completely crush, at least through the Elite Four. We'll have to see how it does in the post game, but even then, I think we go straight to Surgy Boy and just destroy him with a Swords Dance plus Hidden Power Ground setup. I don't think he can do much against that. We will pick up moves like Solar Beam right here just to have them just in case. We could always add on a Sunny Day Solar Beam strat or something if we absolutely need it, but for now, I think we can just stick with this moveset as is. But let's just see first if this is enough to get us through the rival with this setup. So first up, we come against the Sneasel. We're just going to put this Pokemon to sleep as soon as we can. It goes Faint Attack. That doesn't really matter to us at all. We're just setting up all of these Swords Dances here. And then once we get fully set up, I will go for the Sludge Bomb to just destroy this Pokemon in a single hit. That brings out the Golbat second. We hit the Sludge Bomb and it is a one-hit KO. Kadabra comes out. It misses Disable and we just destroy it with a single hit. Typhlosion comes out. It goes for the Flame Wheel, doing a lot of damage and burning me, but I still one-shot with the Hidden Power Ground. Magneton, we outspeed and Hidden Power Ground one-shots it. And now the Haunter, we hit the Hidden Power Ground and it was never in question. We completely destroyed him. Even after he burned us, it just doesn't matter with all the setup, and we're able to move on in this challenge. So I'm going to be very interested to see how this Pokemon rolls through the league. I think Quick Claw strategies could come in a lot of spots, but we'll just have to kind of see how it works out in the end. If we get through Will, I think we're good. Will is really the hardest one that we have to take on because of the psychic type moves and because we're not super fast. But after that, I think it's smooth sailing, and I think we get through a lot of Kanto after that, but we'll just have to see. For now, I will give a massive thank you to Rob Bomford for joining on the Patreon as well as being a channel member here on YouTube. He's all the way back to Faulkner because he's brand new, but still an absolute legend nonetheless. Thank you so much. And with that, let's get back to our main action. So sure enough, coming back here, you will see that the Vileplume has joined the completed member picks down there, and we're now ready to get to our last 5 Pokemon of this section. I'm going to look at Mewtwo, Lugia, and Ho-Oh together first because they have the same base stat total, just in different configurations. I think they all get through just fine, but I am most worried about that Ho-Oh as we go through. So let's start with the easy one. Let's do Mewtwo because we know it has all the answers. Then we'll look at Lugia Lugia, and finally look at Ho-Oh before coming back for our last two mythical Pokemon. So picking back up with our Mewtwo here, we are coming in with Confusion, Fire Punch, Thunder Punch, and Headbutt. I think Confusion plus these elemental punches is more than enough. I think we just replace like Fire Punch at some point with Ice Punch, but that is honestly it. We should be able to get through just fine. In fact, maybe we just forget Headbutt to learn Ice Punch because we are a special attacker. There's really no reason why we need to have Headbutt on the moveset. Granted, we already have Icy Wind in the bag, so maybe we just throw that on and maybe that's enough to get us through Clair. I'm actually going to test it and see, so I'm just going to throw that on immediately over the Headbutt just to have another move that will at least be effective in that situation. I expect that we're going to completely crush the rival and crush Clair because I think we just have enough moves plus the best special attack stat in the entire game that it just kind of makes sense that we would completely crush here. But let's see if that actually works out or not. One thing that we can say is that in neutral situations, Confusion is just as strong as the elemental punches, so we may as well mostly lean on our same type move. Via level up here, we're only going to get access to Psych Up in this section. Future Sight comes in at level 44 when we're in the league, though that's also a kind of trash move, so I'm not sure how that's going to go for us, but I don't think we need a whole lot of stronger moves to actually get through the league. So for now, we will skip Psych Up when it becomes available, since I don't think that that move is really useful for anything. And for now, let's just move on and beat all of these trainers as we get through this section. And sure enough, we make it to the Marlboro Man. I'm not even going to waste time throwing on any held items or healing. I think that Confusion destroys him, but let's find out. So first up on the first coughing, I go Confusion, and that is a one-hit KO. This Wheezing comes out next. We go Confusion, and we one-shot that Pokemon as well. And when you get the one-shot on the Wheezing, you know that you can just speed through the rest of this fight with an auto-A because there is nothing that can stand in front of you. The Marlboro Man, he needs to see his boss's original ace Pokemon. From the anime, he beat up Gary Oak with a Mewtwo. He let Gary Oak 2v1 him, and he's still completely wrecked. That's how strong this Pokemon was. It's still one of the things that I always found about Gen 2 a little bit underwhelming. Like, yes, Lugia and Ho-Oh are on the status of having the same base stat total as Mewtwo, but they are nowhere near as dominant, both in the psyche of old school Pokemon fans, nor in the actual games, to this Mewtwo. Mewtwo is god tier. It's far too powerful for this game. I think it just crushes. Here we come up against the rival, and we could go for anything, but I'll just go for Confusion on the first Golbat and get the one-hit KO. That brings out the Sneasel next. We'll go for the Fire Punch, completely destroying it. Magnemite never stood a chance here as we completely wreck it as well. Haunter can get the Confusion and get destroyed. Meganium comes out. We'll go for the Fire Punch here. It goes for Reflect, and we just two-shot that Pokemon at the end of the day. We get through the rival with no damage taken, nothing. Obviously, he couldn't beat up on Daddy's favorite Pokemon. That's why he had to just take the L there. And we're going to give him another L later on in this one. For now, we're going to get through all these randos super easily. I don't think they stand any sort of chance. And we should get to the Mr. Wannabe Giovanni at the end. We're going to basically just tell him the fact that you're not running a Mewtwo that 1v2s everything and just still completely wrecks is the reason why your boss doesn't respect you and why he's never coming back to support you, because you are an utter disappointment. Now here, I really love the fact that in Gen 2, they just didn't give psychic types any new moves in the Johto section. Like generally, if they do get a new psychic type move, it's Future Sight, which is just kind of trash. But Mewtwo just comes in here and just proves, like, I don't need a stronger move than Confusion. I can just destroy everything and nothing can stand up to a single hit. Like, the sheer disrespect this Pokemon puts on Johto is amazing because nothing can really stand up to more than a single hit from this Pokemon at this point. Like, they can try, but they just get completely wrecked. Here, we will make it to the final Rocket Executive. He's like the only one that we don't have a super effective move against, so we're just gonna have to go Thunder Punch, but let's see how this goes. So first up on the Houndour, we go for the Thunder Punch. We one-shot that Pokemon. The Houndoom comes out next. We'll stick with Thunder Punch. This is like our 1-2 hit KO in this whole section. He goes for the bite. It doesn't matter. And now Coughing can get completely wrecked by Confusion. So it's just a non-factor getting through that fight. And now we've got all the moves that we need to completely stunt on Clair. I don't think she can do anything to us. Like, she probably will survive 1 hit from us at least, but I think we'll get the 2 hit or maybe at most 3 hit KO. And I don't think that her moves are going to deal enough damage. Mewtwo, the reason that it's so incredibly amazing is because outside of special defense, it's really got no even mediocre stats. And even that was only manufactured in Gen 2. I still believe in canon Gen 1 Mewtwo, where both its special attack and special defense are the same insanely high value. And I basically reject any generation of Pokemon that tries to make a Pokemon stronger than Mewtwo. Like, even in Gen 3, when you get Rayquaza or whatever, sure, they might have the same base stat total, but you put them one-on-one versus a Mewtwo, Mewtwo wins. Period. End of story. Mewtwo wins. It has the better move pool. It has the better setups. It will always win. That is what it was made to be. It was made to be the single god tier Pokemon. Whereas Lugia and Ho-Oh, they can come. They can try to go toe-to-toe with this one, but I just guarantee that, at least if we're talking canon, they don't stand a single chance against this Pokemon. That's my word. That's what happens when you grew up in the 90s, you know, when Pokemon originally came out, played the first generation, played the second generation, went to see the movies. You just gotta do. And yet I got kids these days trying to tell me that Mewtwo isn't that good. It's just all right, you know, whatever. Mewtwo didn't even need a Mega Evolution. Mewtwo was already god tier. Whatever stats you gave its Mega Evolution, those were supposed to be its stats to begin with. That's the answer. Basically. But now as we get here into Clair's gym, obviously we're just going to destroy all of these Pokemon. Everything other than the Kingdra, I think, has 0 chance of surviving because we have a super effective move for everything. Like, yes, I could go a little bit harder and go for the Ice Punch, but I'm going to disrespect here by just using Pryce's move when Pryce is such a trash trainer. I'm basically coming here to tell Clair that she is more trash than Pryce. That's my game plan. Let's see how it actually works out. And at least against the Dragonair just before Clair, the Icy Wind is enough to one-shot that Pokemon. Let's see how it goes in the actual battle. I'm going to disrespect even more by not even putting on a held item. I think this is perfectly fine. Let's see how it goes. So Clair attempt number 1, we go Icy Wind on the first Dragonair and get the 1-hit KO. The second Dragonair comes out. We'll stick with the Icy Wind, completely destroying it as we get to level 41. The third Dragonair comes out and gets completely wrecked. And now we get to the Kingdra. We've got a neutrally effective Confusion. That's what I'm going to go for. It's looking like a 3-hit KO, but Surf is just laughably weak. We confuse the Kingdra and we make it knock itself out in Confusion. That is the power of Mewtwo. It's far too strong, even for Clair. She thought that she was going to be able to use a Hyper Potion. She thought that she was going to be able to get another hit in. No, come on. You get 1 hit, that's it, and then you get wrecked. That is the way that Mewtwo rolls. That's why this Pokemon is going to beat Red at the end of the game. I just see no way that we don't beat Red at the end of the game. Like, that would be surprising. In fact, I think we first attempt Red at the end of the game. That's how strong I think this Pokemon is. I don't think that even Red will be able to last 1 attempt versus this Pokemon. Mark my words, we'll get there. We'll completely crush him. And I think this one will be the first Pokemon that we just look at and we're like, yeah, that game was a little bit too easy all the way through. Like, a minimum battles deathless run with Mewtwo is absolutely possible in this generation. I think Karen is like the only place we really have to worry, where you do have to YOLO a little bit into the dynamic punch strats. But even then, I think we're just perfectly fine at that point to get through and crush her entire team. And you're basically just using the dynamic punch for a couple of Pokemon there. You want to hit the first Umbreon with it, and you want to hit the Houndoom with it. Everything else you can get through with other moves. So that's basically going to be my strategy when I get there. We'll probably throw on like Shadow Ball in order to just completely destroy Willy Boy. We're having the disrespect of calling himself a Psychic type gym leader when we've got the Mewtwo and he doesn't. Like, come on, what kind of disrespect is that? Will out here, he doesn't even have an Alakazam in these streets. Are you kidding kidding me? And besides, Mewtwo's just like, I completely destroy Alakazam. Alakazam is trash next to Mewtwo. That's the word of this Pokemon. I'm just saying, this thing is just equipped to destroy everything, and I think it's going to have good chances. It's too bad it doesn't learn Earthquake in this generation. It has to wait till the next generation to get that move. Otherwise, it would just completely crush even harder. But for now, we can make our way into this Rival 5 fight. This is going to be the most trivial fight we've had up to this point. I think we crush, but let's find out. So first up, we've got a Sneasel in front of us. We go Fire Punch, and that Pokemon is gone. We get to level 42 as the Golbat comes out. We can go for Stab Confusion and one-shot that Pokemon as well. Magneton comes out. We can just Fire Punch that Pokemon and disrespect it. Haunter, no problem at all. Just go for Confusion. Now we get the Kadabra out. We don't have the ability to use Confusion here. Oh no, whatever will we do? How about a Fire Punch on that Pokemon? It gets burned. It sees the future, which is that it's getting completely wrecked, and that finally brings out the Meganium. We can go for the Fire Punch. This is a 2-hit KO, but really it's no problem to get through that fight. We easily get through on the first attempt, and we're on to the league. Like I said, I think we just throw Shadow Ball on to this Pokemon. Eventually we will throw on the Dynamic Punch as well. By the end of this, we won't even have a Psychic type move. We'll just be rolling with Elemental Punches, Shadow Ball, and Dynamic Punch when we actually get through the league. That's okay, because Psychic is over there in Kanto waiting for us whenever we want it, and we're just going to crush the game from there. I think that's the way to go, but we'll just have to see how it actually works out in the end with this Mewtwo. For now, it gets through this section. Let's check in on Lugia. Now, of course, Lugia just represents what everybody thought Venomoth was in Gen 1, and we are coming in currently with a moveset of Aeroblast, Mud Slap, Surf, and Safeguard. We would love to get a Psychic type move, but currently have none available to us. We will be learning Recover in a couple levels, which we may end up throwing on over Mud Slap, I'm not sure. And then Hydro Pump comes in at level 44. We will not get to that move before the league, but we might just have to forget Surf in order to pick it up. The real problem with this Pokemon and what they did to these super uber Pokemon in this generation is that they just learn a new move every 11 levels. But that means that Ancient Power, one of the best moves we could have for this Pokemon, is stuck all the way up at level 88, a level that we will never achieve in this slow level up group in a solo challenge like this for minimum battles. Fortunately, we do have enough coverage, I think, that we'll be able to get through, but it's sad that this Pokemon gets no Psychic stab in Johto whatsoever. We cannot get Psychic until Kanto, and we're just kind of stuck until then. Still, for now, I think we have a moveset that's good enough to get through all the randos here, so let's just see how we actually go as we go through this Rocket storyline. Aeroblast, of course, has limited PP, but we have the ability to recover between battles, so we can just go for it and completely destroy these Pokemon. And with that, we should have easy chances getting through. Now, of course, we easily make it to the Marlboro Man with this one. We've got the Aeroblast, we've got the Surf. I'm going to be trying Aeroblast just to see if it can one-shot or not here. We can obviously go Safeguard to prevent any poisons from affecting us, and maybe that's enough, but let's see how this actually goes. So first up on the first coughing, I'm actually going to go Safeguard just in case it misses the smokescreen. Let's go Aeroblast. That does one shot there with a crit. That brings out the coughing. Let's go for Surf here just to see what it does. Not quite enough to one shot, and we're out of Aeroblast PP because I didn't recover coming in. Here against the Wheezing though, we've got a simple 2-hit KO as long as we actually manage to hit. And now we just need to land Surfs on these remaining coughings. We leveled up, so now we're just one-shotting. And with that, we can get a super easy victory as we get through that one. So now it's time to go to the basement. The Rival, I think, stands no chance as well because he clearly knows that this Pokemon is basically a ripoff of Venomoth, and Venomoth would clearly crush him 100% of the time. There's no way that he would ever win against a Psychic flying Pokemon. So on that basis, we're just going to come in and we're going to try this one and see if we can get the easy win. So first up on the Golbat, we go for Aeroblast and one-shot that Pokemon, getting to level 35. Magnemite comes out. Let's go Surf and see if we get the one-hitter. We do. That will bring out the Sneasel. Back to Aeroblast here as we get the Utter Destruction. Feraligatr comes out. Aeroblast time. It's a critical hit, one-shot, and that brings out the Haunter. We missed the Aeroblast. Oh no. It hits the Shadow Ball, but we still wrecked that Pokemon, getting a nice, easy victory on the first attempt. With that, though, we can now make our way through the rest of this section. section where we have more than enough moves for everything, so it's straight on to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni. And sure enough, with no issues, we make it to the final battle. Let's just see how this goes. I think we just aeroblast everything, and I think we get the win, but let's find out. So first up on the Houndour, maybe we're better off going Surf right here. I'm honestly not sure. It is super effective, so we'll just take the easy one-hitter, I guess. Out comes the Houndoom, though. I'm going to disrespect by aeroblasting, and that is a one-hit KO as well. The Coughing comes out. We can just go Surf on this one because it has low special defense, and that gets the easy victory with no damage taken. We're ready to move on in the game. With that, though, we can now make our way over to Claire's gym, where I think Aeroblast will be enough for the Dragonairs. Assuming that it is, we should get a super easy victory here because I'm not really scared of anything from the Kingdra. As long as I one-shot the first 3 Pokemon, I should probably be able to two-shot the Kingdra itself. But let's see if that actually works or if we get completely wrecked here. Of course, the real issue might turn out to be Kingdra getting a Hyper Potion. That may be the only reason that she is actually able to beat us here, but who knows? In that case, maybe what we have to do is use the move deleter to forget Surf, since Surf is completely useless here, and just learn any normal type move to cover for that situation. We could even learn Thunder if we want to. Like, we've got plenty of moves. I mean, even Headbutt is probably enough at that point to get us the victory. We'll just have to test it out and see. Here, I didn't even test the Aeroblast on the Dragonair just before Claire because I forgot to recover PP, but even there, I was just able to use Safeguards to avoid Thunder Wave and then 4-shot that Pokemon with Surf. So Surf isn't completely useless here. We're just gonna have to test this and see if we can actually get through with the Aeroblasts only. Let's test this and find out. So first up on the first Dragonair, we go Aeroblast, and that is a one-hit KO. The second Dragonair comes out and also gets completely wrecked. Or no, it doesn't. It survives with a Sliver. Are you kidding me? Oh, the utter disrespect. The third Dragonair comes out, we hit the Aeroblast and destroy it, but that means that we're likely not one-shotting here against Kingdra without a crit. And Surf does laughably little because of the fact that this is a resisted move. We're gonna have to recover here and get our HP back and then spam away with the Surfs. This is kind of bad. We're basically losing here because we just can't deal enough damage, so we're going to have to reset on that one. See, I told you guys this Pokemon's not as good as Mewtwo. Still, I'm going to replace Surf with just Headbutt here. We just need a neutral move, and with Headbutt on the moveset, since we could just forget Surf via the move deleter here in town, I think we'll be perfectly fine. We Safeguard and then we just 2-shot each of the Dragonairs at worst. Let's find out how this goes. So turn 1, I'm just going to go Safeguard here. The Thunder Wave obviously won't affect me. We can now go for the Aeroblast again. Let's try to Aeroblast the second Dragonair. This time we get to level 41 once again. We can Aeroblast on the third Dragonair. This time we do take it down. We're back to the Kingdra. We Aeroblast and we crit and we one-shot. So on the second attempt, we do manage to get through thanks to the crit. I'm just saying it's not as good as Mewtwo just coming in here and stunting on everything. We did lose one time to Claire, so she gets to say she took down a mythical level Pokemon once in this challenge. Just exactly once, of course, so we still won't give her too much respect, but we gotta just keep in mind that she did at least prove that she can get a victory. So we'll just have to take that. We'll come and talk to these old guys down here. They're gonna say, hey, that Lugia, I think it learns Dragon Breath, doesn't it? So technically it is a dragon by definition, so we did ultimately win a dragon battle against Claire. At least that's the way I looked at it. In fact, my headcanon back in Gen 1 about dragon types, because Lance had so many Pokemon that weren't dragons, was that dragon types were Pokemon that could learn the Dragon Rage TM. So by that definition, of course, Arcanine is a dragon, Lapras is a dragon, Mew is a dragon. And it all just kind of made sense to me as a kid that these were what are officially dragons. Charizard, clearly a dragon. Here in Gen 2, they seem to have changed that out with Dragon Breath. So if this had been my first generation, I think I would have had the headcanon that dragons were Pokemon that learned Dragon Breath. But anyway, we look at it. Eventually, it's just about learning a dragon type move, I think makes you a dragon. But feel free to disagree with me in the comment section down below. With all of that done, we're now ready to make our way to the final battle against the rival, where I think we just learn one move in order to get through this team. And for now, I think I'm just gonna learn Earthquake. It kind of answers everything that Aeroblast doesn't, and it will be better than Headbutt one-shot against that Magneton. So that's my logic here. Let's just see how this goes, but I expect this to be an insanely easy battle. So he leads off with the Sneasel. We go for the Aeroblast and one-shot that Pokemon. Magneton comes out second, but he didn't realize that the Earthquake TM was here, so we one-shot. Golbat comes out, and he's like, hey, now you can't hit that Earthquake. We're going to get the 2-hit KO with Aeroblast instead. We can go for Earthquake on the Haunter. That brings out the Kadabra, also an Earthquake spot, clearly. And now for Alligator, we've only got one Aeroblast left, and we miss. But that's all right. We got plenty of Earthquake PP, and this is going to be a 3-hit KO. And we finish with 69 HP. Very nice as we get to the league. So Lugia, I don't think anybody doubted it. This Pokemon gets here to the end of the game, and we get Blizzard, we get Thunder. We should be able to beat Lance at the end of this section. It's really just a question of how we get through Will, which I think is just Shadow Ball, and then how we get through Karen, which is very likely just a combination of Aeroblast and maybe praying for like some headbutt flinches or something. I'm honestly not sure. But by the end of this, we should be able to completely crush Lancey Boy. At least that's my prediction. We'll see how it actually works out. For now, this one gets through. It's time to move on to Ho-Oh. So coming back with Ho-Oh here, we've got Fly, Mudslap, Sacred Power, and Safeguard. I think we're going to very likely have to upgrade our moves in order to get through Clair here. I just don't think we're going to be able to get through with this setup. We again learn Recover at level 33 here, and that will be our only level up move in this section. And here we are more of a physical attacker, so who knows, maybe Fly is enough to get us through those Dragonairs. Otherwise, Max Friendship Return might come in this one. We'll just have to test this and see. For now though, Sacred Fire and Fly should be enough for basically all of these randos. So let's just see how it goes in the Rocket storyline here as we go through the radio tower. Now I will say I always really loved Ho-Oh because it goes back to the original Pokemon anime, the very first episode of the Indigo League, where you see Ho-Oh in that episode. In spite of the fact that it was not officially a Pokemon at that time, they were like pretending that it was a Moltres or something, even though it was a completely different design. And frankly, it was just one of those Pokemon that inspired the imagination as a kid as it flew away after Ash's Pikachu had just killed like 5,000 Spearows with a single Thunder. That was when you knew that the story was real, that Pikachu was the one. It's honestly the only Pokemon that could ever go toe-to-toe with a Mewtwo, in my opinion. But, you know, Ho-Oh, it can be up there in the canon. The problem is the implementation in the games, because the fire typing is just really bad in a lot of spots. So we're really stuck hoping that we can actually manage to get the victories here. Honestly, I think for this one, it's basically going to be Claire's going to be a little bit difficult, but the real issue is going to come in when we get to the late game, when we get to Lance. Will we have the moves? I'm honestly not sure. We do learn Thunder, so I guess we'll have better chances than Moltres there, but it still just might not turn out to be great. We do also learn Dragon Breath, so yet again, Dragon type Pokemon confirmed. So we'll just have to see if maybe that's enough to get us through at the end of the game. For now though, we make it to the Marlboro Man. We've got the Firebird that I think he is going to be very scared of, because he can be here with the coughing and wheezing all day, but if we hit Sacred Fire, I think that burns all of that out and we get the easy win. Let's find out. So first up on the coughing, we go for the Sacred Fire, and that is an easy one-hit KO. The second coughing comes out and gets destroyed. We get to level 34 right here. Third coughing comes out and never stood a chance. That brings out the wheezing. We go Sacred Fire, and that is not a one-hitter, but it gets burned, so it goes down in a single hit. Now we can just Sacred Fire on the next coughing, but we miss. So now we have to switch to Fly. We still get a one-shot on that coughing, and we can Fly against the next coughing. It's not a one-hitter, it's clearly a range, but we do get the victory on the first attempt either way. With that, we're ready to move on to the rival in the basement. We're just gonna have to see how he goes. Obviously, we can take down the Sneasel and the Magnemite super easily. We've got Fly for the Haunter. We're just gonna have to see how this works out though against that Feraligatr. Fly probably will get the job done just because that Pokemon's only using Water Gun, which isn't gonna be strong enough here, I don't think, to take us down, but let's test this and find out. So first up on the Golbat, I'm going Sacred Fire. We miss, we get hit by the wing attack, but then Sacred Fire does take it to fairly low health. Here I get confused, however. I'm going to have to fly and try to hit. We do manage to knock that Pokemon out. Feraligatr comes out next. We'll go fly right here. We fail to fly, but we can just go for recover here because Water Gun is so trash. With that, Fly does a one-hit KO with a crit, so that's perfectly fine. Magnemite comes out. We go for the Sacred Fire and miss here. Are you kidding me? We still managed the victory, but that's just utter disrespect. We get Shadow Ball from Haunter, though, which is a joke, and now we can fly on the final Sneasel, and as long as we don't get fully paralyzed in the air, we simply win. Just like that, we beat the rival on the first attempt. Even when we got the crazy misses and whatnot, doesn't matter, you still get the victory, and we can now beat up on all these randos, get the levels, and let's go take on Mr. Wannabe Giovanni at the end of this. And here, sure enough, we make it to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni with really no issues whatsoever. Our only resets so far are just against random spinners trying to get past them. With that though, I think Fly is enough to get us through every Pokemon on this team. Let's see how it goes. So first up on the Houndour, we go for Fly. It misses a bite, and then we just knock it out the next turn. Out comes the Coughing. Once again, we fly. It tried to Smokescreen. It actually turns out to be a two-hitter here. Maybe Sacred Fire was the way to go on that one. That brings out the Houndoom. We'll fly yet again, and this is a one-hitter when we do connect. So really not bad getting through that. We get through on full health. Now we're ready to go to Claire's gym. This is the part where I'm nervous, though. We do have the decent special defense here, and we do have Safeguard, and we have access to recover, so we should be able to get HP back, even though a lot of these Pokemon are using super effective moves against us. Maybe that special defense is enough that we just don't really care. I'm honestly not sure. I am pretty confident that the Fly will be enough for all of the randos as we go through this, but we'll just have to see what the ranges are on the Dragonairs. Maybe we have to go for something like a Sharp Beak here. I'm honestly not sure how it's going to work in the end. So just before Claire, I'm going Fly on this Dragonair, and it does get the one-hit KO, so that gives me at least some confidence that there's a chance to get through here. I'm still going to give a Paralyzed Cure Berry, though, because I'm honestly not sure how this is going to work out. Maybe we can even go Sacred Fire on the Kingdra just to get the burn on it, and maybe get a little extra chip damage. I'm just going to have to test this and see how it goes. So Claire attempt number one, we go for Fly right away. We miss and we get Thunder Waved. Then we immediately use our Paralyzed Cure Berry, and the next Fly does knock that Pokemon out. Still, I think we should go for Safeguard just in case, as the next Dragonair goes for the Thunder Wave. Now we can knock that Pokemon out, getting to level 41. The third Dragonair comes out. We hit the Fly and easily knock it out in a single hit. That brings us to the Kingdra. I'm going Fly. This does about half. It goes Smokescreen against me. We hit the next Fly though, and we simply win. She didn't even try to go for the Hyper Potion, even though she would have had turns with us up in the air. She just apparently thought that that wasn't worth it, and I'm kind of surprised she doesn't have Twister anymore. At least that move could hit us in the air and maybe deal some damage. No, she just is like, I'm all Dragon Breath all the time, so clearly she just gets wrecked. And with that easy victory, we're ready to move on in this one. I'm just gonna say right now though, I don't think we get such an easy victory when we get to Lancey Boy at the end. We will kind of like him using Rain Dance so that we can hit Thunder, which is probably our best play at that point. I think this Pokemon would really love to have like Hidden Power Rock or something as its way to get through at that point in the game. Unfortunately, we're just not going to have anything that good at that point. Still, maybe the recover strats are enough to actually get us through there, plus the fact that we have access to the Safeguard to avoid status. Maybe it works, but we'll just have to see how it actually goes. I do think that this Pokemon will be able to get through Will just fine though. I think we'll match up really well against Koga. Bruno, we should also be able to get a pretty easy victory because even against the Onix, I think Sacred Fire probably just does enough damage to take that Pokemon down. Karen, we'll just have to see. And then against Lance, we'll probably have to go for a bit of everything. Some Thunder, some Dragon Breath, just whatever it takes to actually get a win. But we'll just test everything at that point and see what actually works. For now though, we've made it to Rival 5. I think I go into this fight with no moveset changes. Let's just see how this actually works. So Rival 5 attempt number one, I'm going to set up Safeguard just to have it, and then we can go for the Sacred Fire on this Sneasel, getting the one-hit KO, getting to level 42. That brings out Feraligatr. We'll go for Fly. It misses Slash while we're in the air. Now it hits the Slash. but we can simply knock that Pokemon out. Golbat comes out. I'm once again going to safeguard here just to be protected against exactly that when it goes for something like the Confuse Ray. Now we can go for the Sacred Fire. It's not quite a one-hitter, but I'll just two-shot that Pokemon and take it down nice and easy. Magneton comes out. We can go Sacred Fire and completely destroy it. That will bring out the Haunter next. I'm going Fly. It tries to Curse. It just gets wrecked, and that brings out the final Kadabra. Sacred Fire is enough to get the one-hit KO. So with that, we're ready to move on to the league, where I think we throw Shadow Ball on immediately for the next fight, and then we just kind of go from there, choosing whatever TMs we want to use as we go through it. I think we've got chances to get the Lance. I just think Lance is going to be hard. Not insurmountable necessarily with this Pokemon though, especially looking at its massive special defense. We may be able to survive even some super effective moves there, but we're going to have to test that and see. Of course, the Aerodactyl going Rock Slide on us could be a problem, so that could be where we actually get wrecked, but we'll just have to see when we get there. For now, that does it for these kind of uber legendaries. Let's check on our final results before we get into the last two Pokemon. So with all of that done, we have officially gotten 128 Pokemon through Clair on minimum battles without even needing to go for any shenanigans. Yes, there are a few Pokemon up there that have dropped rare candies up to this point, but it's really not that bad. Over half the Pokedex is getting through, and now we've got Mew and Celebi. I think we just bumped that total up to 130, a nice even number of legit passers, plus the 6 that managed to get through with the OPTMs. Technically, they're just using Hidden Power Dark here. So Nidoran Male and Nidorino did need some rare candies here as well to get through, but still, it's more than half the Pokedex that is getting through Clair on minimum battles without it ever really being that bad or that hard. I mean, when a Charmander is getting through this section, we basically could have just called it there. We basically could have said, this is fine, this is done, no need to run any of the other Pokemon. But at some point, I do have to get them all to the steps of the league. That's the only reason we've actually done this. And now we're ready to just wrap this up nice and easy. We will do Mew first, then do the Celebi. Let's see how they go. So picking up with our Mew, we're coming in with Surf, Rollout, Fire Punch, and Headbutt. I think we throw an Ice Punch somewhere here and we basically get a victory, but let's just see how this actually works out. Now, unlike the other legendaries, we are getting close to the point of getting access to Psychic here at level 40, and we definitely will get there before we get to Clair. In fact, before we get through this entire section, because we're in the medium slow level up group. That will be such a massive upgrade to our moveset as well. So I think we've got really good chances of actually getting through at this point. So at this point, I think it's really just about taking down these Pokemon as quickly as possible, and then we'll just figure out where to throw Psychic on our moveset, probably forgetting either Headbutt or Fire Punch if I have to guess, since those moves are relearnable at this point in the run. Still, we don't quite get to that move before we make it to the Marlboro Man, so we're going to have to see how it goes here, with Surf being effectively our strongest move. Maybe it can get the one-hit KOs here, even though it's not a same type move. We'll just have to find out. So first up on the first coughing, I go for Surf, and that is a one-hit KO, at least on the first one. The second coughing comes out, we once again get the one-hitter. The third coughing comes out, we can easily knock that Pokemon out. That will bring out the fourth coughing. He's saving the wheezing apparently because we're Psychic type. So we get to knock out 5 coughings before we finally see the wheezing here. We can go for Surf. It's going to be a 2-hit KO, but we get a super easy victory on the Marlboro Man. He never stood a chance there. And now we're ready to move on to the rival in the basement. I think our current moveset is more than enough to get through him, but we'll just have to see how this actually works out. We should also level up in this fight to get access to Psychic, so I think we'll have decent chances, but let's find out. So first up on the Golbat, I'm going to try to go Rollout here just to see. We get confused by Confuse Ray, but we still did pretty significant damage. Now that we're confused, I guess I'll just go Surf to knock that one out. That brings out the Sneasel. We get a Leer, but then we can hit the Fire Punch and knock that one out. Magnemite, same thing. I think we just Fire Punch and wreck that Pokemon. The Haunter comes out. We can go for Surf here, and that is just barely not a one-hit KO. That will bring out the Meganium. I'll just Fire Punch here. We get Cursed. it goes Reflect, but that doesn't matter. We simply win, and now we level up to level 40, where we get access to Psychic. I'm just going to go ahead and learn this move over Headbutt for now, knowing that that last moveset slot we can just swap in and out however we want, but the Psychic is the strongest move against all of these randos here, so we should have a really good chance of actually getting through this section. I just have to think that the Stab Psychic will be enough even when we get to Claire's gym, and as long as it is, that should be all that we actually need to get through this part of the game super easily, and then we'll have our strongest same type move when we actually get to the league as well, which should give us some real chances in some of the toughest fights. And at least through the Rockets, we get to the final executive with no issues. We have Surf. This should be enough to get the victory, but let's see how it goes. So first up on the Houndour, I'm just going to go for Surf right here and get the one-hit KO victory. That will bring out the Houndoom second. Once again, we just go Surf, and that is another one-hit KO. The Coughing comes out, we can just go Psychic and simply win. Now I'm very interested to see if Psychic is enough to just get us through Claire's gym. Do we even need to go for something like Ice Punch here? It might not be necessary just because the Stab Psychic is so strong. We might just be one-shotting against all of the Dragonairs and get the super easy victory. I'm interested to find out, so I'm going to try to go in without learning any new TM moves just to see if we can get it or not. So what I can say is that we one-hit KO'd every Pokemon before Claire in her gym. So it's just a question of whether or not we can get the same range on the Dragonairs on her team. I'm going to just try to go straight in with Psychic and see if it's enough. So Claire attempt number 1, we go Psychic on the first Dragonair, and it's not quite a one-hitter. So it does make sense that we would want to learn a move like the Ice Punch here, just to have it be super effective. It will be just ever so slightly stronger, and that will give us a chance. But we still make it to Kingdra on this attempt. We can hit Psychic, doing over half. She Hyper Potions. We get to take that Pokemon down to low health. She goes for Surf, and we still manage the victory. Even when we didn't get the range that I was hoping for, it's still an insanely easy fight to ultimately get it to go. All because of the fact that this Pokemon just has perfectly balanced stats. There's nothing that she can really do in this situation. She just doesn't have the power to take this Mew down. And with that, we can now move on in the game where I think we just go straight to the rival. There's nothing to really do there. We have the perfect moveset in that we can learn any of these TMs or HMs that we want at any time. So Mew is going to have chances at least to completely crush this section. We'll just have to see how it actually works out, but I'm fairly confident that we're going to be able to find our way all the way through the league here with this Mew. Like, if a Mew does not beat the league, if Mew doesn't beat the game on minimum battles, then basically no Pokemon should be able to complete this challenge, and we know that there are other Pokemon that can beat the game on minimum battles. So Mew, I just think, is basically every time I do it a foregone conclusion. It's just a question of when do you learn each TM, not is it going to have the power or the moves to get through something. This is the reason why in all generations I love to use Mew as like a test case for situations to see if they actually work or not. Because if something is impossible with Mew, there's a high likelihood that it's impossible with everything outside of maybe one or two very, very niche Pokemon. Whereas if you can do something with the Mew, then you can start looking into whether or not there are some key situations or key takeaways that you've got that can then inform how other Pokemon should do the same challenge. So Mew is just a great way to kind of balance everything out and just see how it actually works in the long term. And here, as we make our way to the rival, of course, we'll just pick up all the TMs. We got Solar Beam, we're going to get access to Earthquake, and we're going to be able to get into this fight, I think, and just completely stunt on the team. But let's see how it actually goes. So Rival 5 attempt number 1, we get the Sneasel out first. I'm just going to Fire Punch and one-shot that Pokemon. Out comes the Golbat. We have Psychic now, so we can destroy that in a single hit. That will bring out the Magneton, back to the Fire Punch here to get the one-hitter. Haunter comes out. We have Psychic, so we yet again just destroy it. We get to level 47 as Kadabra comes out. We can really go for anything here, but I guess I'll just go for the Fire Punch because I can. It's a 2-hit KO, and that will bring out Meganium last. Psychic is our strongest move, technically. It goes for the Razor Leaf. We get a Future Sight. Neither matter. We easily get through, and we're ready to move on in this challenge. And next up, we've got Willy Boy. I think we just throw on Shadow Ball and completely destroy him with this Pokemon. Like, what's he gonna do against a Mew? Honestly, that's probably gonna be one of the easiest fights in the entire game. Still, who knows? Maybe he shows us something, or maybe Mew runs into a wall somewhere that I'm not expecting, but I expect that this Pokemon just beats the entire game on minimum battles. That's my prediction. We'll see if it actually works out. But for now, Mew is done. We have one last Pokemon, Celebi. Let's see how the Gen 2 mythical Pokemon does. And here we find our Celebi coming in with Confusion, Leech Seed, Recover, and Ancient Power. We know Ancient Power always gives you a chance here, and we're basically going to be using that Leech Seed and Recover to get HP back. As far as new moves, the next one is just Baton Pass, and after that's Perish Song, neither of which we will learn on this Pokemon. They're completely useless in a solo challenge. So we're just going to have to see if this is enough. The fact that we only have Confusion is the main thing that holds this Pokemon back in most of these runs. Unlike the Mew, we will not get access to Psychic as a way to get easy victories, so we may have to mix and match a little bit more with our movesets, and we also just don't have the super broad moveset that we have with Mew, so there are fewer guaranteed wins here. There will still be chances though, I think. It's just that this Pokemon's more likely to actually hit walls and have challenges as it goes through. Still, we know that it should be able to get through eventually on a lot of these fights. It's just going to be a little bit slower and more tedious as we go through. Still, with that said, Confusion matches up pretty well against all of these rando rockets, so we should be getting to the Marlboro Man pretty easily. And the question is, do we actually take down the Marlboro Man easily, or does he actually manage to survive with anything against the Confusion? So Marlboro Man attempt number 1 right here. We're going Confusion on the very first Coughing. That is a one-hit KO. Out comes the next Coughing. We go Confusion again. You're going to notice the issue here is that I didn't recover PP coming into this fight, but we are getting all the way to the Wheezing. We hit Confusion and we get the one-shot there. Now we still have some Ancient Powers left, so I'm going to go for that against the next Coughing. It looks like it's going to be a multi-hit KO, so I'm just going to go for the Leech Seed here as well. Then let's go for Ancient Power and knock that Pokemon out. I will now Leech Seed on the next Coughing. It goes Smog. It gets the poison on me, but I can just go for Ancient Power here, and Sludge will not do enough. We managed to get through on the first attempt, even without full PP in Confusion. It ultimately works out just fine. And with that, we're ready to make our way into the basement and rival number 4. I think we've got enough moves, but we may have to cheese just a little bit with some Leech Seed strats in some parts. I'm honestly not sure, but let's test this and find out. I think we lead off with a Paralyzed Cure Berry though, because there's a decent chance we get paralyzed by that Magnemite and we're not able to one-shot that Pokemon. So first up on the Golbat, I'm actually going to try Ancient Power here. It doesn't get the one-hitter. I was kind of hoping for an Omni Boost on this Pokemon. We get confused and we hit ourselves multiple times in Confusion, but we do take that Pokemon down. Out comes the Sneasel. We can go Ancient Power and just one-shot that Pokemon. Quilava comes out. We'll go for the same. We get the Omni Boost right here, and we easily survive against that Flame Wheel. So I'm actually going to recover right here just to get HP back. Since we've gotten the Omni Boost, I think we're perfectly fine. We'll just Confusion it down from there. We can go Confusion on the next Magnemite. It misses the Thunder Wave, so we get through just fine. And now Haunter never stood a chance against our Confusion. We get the easy victory. We get to level 40. We will not learn Baton Pass. And with that, we're ready to move on in this challenge. I expect that we just crush everything from here with the Confusions until we get to that final Executive. So we'll just have to see how he goes. But I think the Ancient Power is going to be enough to get us through pretty easily. We'll just have to find out. And sure enough, we make it to that final Executive with no issues. I think Ancient Power and Confusion will be enough here, but let's just see how it goes. So of course he leads off with the Houndour. We go straight for Ancient Power and one-shot that Pokemon. Out comes the Houndoom. Ancient Power again gets the one-hit KO, and that brings us to the final Coughing. We go for the Confusion, get the easy victory, and we're ready to move on in this one. Now we've got to make our way to Clair, and this is where I think this one gets hard because of the fact that we don't have any good moves here. Like, we could learn something like Shadow Ball to be a little bit stronger from the physical side, and of course technically we can get access to max friendship return if we want to, but if we do either of those, we're losing one of our attacking moves that I think are actually useful. So I think this fight might actually come down to trying to fish for an Omni boost and then using that as my way to get through. There is of course only one Dragonair with a super effective move against me. That will be the Ice Beam Dragonair. So if we can get through that one, we should be perfectly fine, but definitely the Paralyzed Cure Berry is going to be required here, and we're going to need a little bit of luck to get this one to go, I think. Still, like I said, I think at the end of the day, in the worst case, we just need an Omni boost, and that's probably enough for us to get through. I doubt we need multiple Omni boosts to get the win here, especially if we do manage to get to, say, the final Kingdra. We can always go Leech Seed and start healing in order to just chip that Pokemon down eventually, even if we don't have anything super effective. So I think this will actually be a reasonable fight. It's maybe just not a first attempt victory, and certainly not a fast victory compared to a lot of the other challengers at this point. It turns out that even on these Dratinis at the start of the gym, they are ranges with the confusion, so that kind of validates exactly what I'm thinking here. We're going to need a little bit of luck to get through the Dragonairs. So on that basis, let's put on a Paralyzed Cure Berry and go into this fight trying to get an Omni boost, at which point confusion will just one-shot all of the Dragonairs. At least I predict that it will, and at that point we might just have an easy victory. Let's find out. So Clair attempt number 1, I'm going straight for Ancient Power on the first Dragonair. It does about half, and then we'll simply knock this Pokemon out with a Confusion after that. That brings out the second Dragonair. I'm again going for Ancient Power. It misses Thunder Wave, and that means that we don't have to worry about Ice Beams in this one. Third Dragonair comes out. We once again go Ancient Power. Still no Omni Boost, but the Dragon Breath isn't doing that much, so we do manage to get through that Pokemon. We've made it to Kingdra. It goes Hyper Beam. I'm going to go for the Leech Seed here, and then I'm just gonna go for Ancient Power, trying to get an Omni boost if I can. We're fully paralyzed for a turn. It goes Hyper Beam again. We managed to get it to fairly low health, and it has to recharge, so she can't go for the Hyper Potion. We beat her on the first attempt, even when we go into that fight and get paralyzed going into the last Pokemon. The fact that we got through the one Dragonair that knows Ice Beam without getting any damage from it, that's perfectly fine. That means we get the easy win. And with that, we should be set up just fine to get through the last rival, I have to think. We might still be fishing for Omni boosts, we'll just have to see, but I think we've got reasonable chances here. So with that, all we've got left is one last battle against Rival 5. This has been such a massive grind getting through the Clair section for what has truly just been a formality at the end of the day. Neither she nor the rivals have ultimately walled anything in this entire section of the game on minimum battles. Every one of these Pokemon finds a way through eventually with some sort of setup, and that is kind of the story of the 8 Johto gyms. Early on, they start out actually being difficult. When you first take on Falkner, when you take on Bugsy and Rival 2, I mean, Honest Abe was one of the toughest traders in the entire game up to this point, but then Whitney started the disappointment. Everybody was hyping up Whitney, and she turned out to be basically a nothing burger, only walling like one Pokemon. Then we get to Morty, more of the same. The rival and Morty just really didn't do much. Then we got basically everything through Chuck, Jasmine, and Pryce, with only like a couple of exceptions, Pokemon that couldn't beat Jasmine. And now we get all the way to the end with more than half the Pokemon in the Pokedex. Let's take our last victory lap here on the rival. I am going to throw on the Paralyzed Cure Berry just because I think there's a decent chance that I will get paralyzed here. But with that, we're ready to get into the last fight against this rival, and we can actually move on to the league. So here against Rival 5, I am going straight to Ancient Power on the Sneasel, getting the one-hit KO. The Typhlosion comes out next. We go Ancient Power. It's going to be a 2-hitter. We get the burn from the Flame Wheel. That is terrible. Still, we do knock that Pokemon out. Golbat comes out next. We can go for Confusion and one-shot. The Magneton comes out next. This is the Pokemon I'm most nervous about. I'm going to go Leech Seed right here. We are getting affected by the burn. I'm going to go Recover just to get some HP back. back. Now we will go for the confusion here. We at least have a way to get back some of this chip damage we're losing. So we knock that Pokemon out. The Haunter comes out. We just go confusion and destroy it. Now we get the Kadabra out. I'm going to Leech Seed this Pokemon, and then let's just go for the Ancient Power. It's not enough to get the one shot, but we can now go for confusion, taking that Pokemon down, and we beat the rival even when he gets that burn on us. It does not matter. Celebi gets all the way to the steps of the league. So with that, we have tested 251 Pokemon in Gen 2, all the way to the steps of the Pokemon League on minimum battles, 8 gyms done, and we have ultimately found that after you get through Bugsy and Rival 2, in 99% of cases, you're getting to the league. That is partially a function of the Johto level curve, partially a function of the availability of TMs that come up in the right spots, also a function of the fact that there are rare candies, quite a few of them at this point in the game, as you would kind of expect as you're getting through the 8 gyms, though. I mean, that's nothing new in the Pokemon games, but I think the biggest thing is that so many of the gym leaders have exploitable AI in some capacity, so you ultimately can find a way to get through them. I think Claire really exemplified that as we went through this section. Still, we gotten to this point, and we've already gotten one preview of Will with my personal Arcanine, so let's just wrap up this section nicely and get ready for the final stretch of Johto, the actual Pokemon League, and see how this goes. Now, of course, my completed is going to show 2 Pokemon not completed. Those are the Pinsir and the Dratini that were former member picks but are no longer being supported. I think I saw in the comments somebody saying they wanted to take on that Pinsir there, and I'm gonna have to double check just based on the coloration behind the star. That unknown might also no longer be supported. I'll just have to double check and see. Abra as well might no longer be supported, but I'm gonna just have to double check the status in the background. I will update you guys on that. But at the end of the day, 131 Pokemon legitimately get through this section without needing OPTMs. Granted, we got to the point saying that 1 Game Corner TM is legit at this point, and Max Friendship Return is technically legit at this point. So there are some of these Pokemon that would have been OPTMs Pokemon in previous sections and no longer are, but they still, at the end of the day, are getting through this section. You add on these 6 others, that's 137 Pokemon out of 251 getting through this section. We only needed 126 to be half of the Pokedex. So we're at least, nearly 10% above that. And then when you add on the fact that we've got at least 33 member pick Pokemon, and I know there are quite a few members who haven't actually even made a pick. They've just been supporting me forever, which is absolutely legendary. I can't thank them enough. But it just tells us that honestly, there are ways to get a lot of Pokemon through to this point in the game. There are a couple of the member picks that I need to take another look at as we go into the next section. We might need to give that Wooper another chance with some belly drum action to get to this point. We did lose Wooper in an earlier section, but it might have been possible to get through based on everything we've learned now. That is the only member pick that has been truly eliminated. And then Bruins Girls Centrit is another one that I do need to look at because we got all the way to Rival 5 where I gave up on it, but I think we can get it through. I'm going to be going back and looking at that one and the start of the Will Minimum Battles series, just because if I can get them through, they're going to go straight to Willy Boy and have a chance. We'll just have to see how they go. Now, I just have to give a massive thank you to you guys because this week marks 5 years for me on YouTube. I started this channel at the end of my 2nd year on YouTube. Of course, I had been on RBY Pokemon Challenges before that, and I started this as a 2nd channel partially to just reset and try doing this minimum battle series again, partially because I was honestly not sure if I could ever actually repeat getting a channel over 1,000 subscribers and to the point of being able to get anybody to watch it. And it has been an absolute pleasure here on GSC Pokemon Challenges, what we have built up to this point. I know it's taken a few years for us to actually get to this point where we're at the league. I'm sure there are plenty of times that people have wished that I could get this done faster, but when you can consider that we had to run 137 Pokemon all the way to the league, even without considering member picks, right? Before you even considered all these members that have joined and saved Pokemon, we already would be doing more than half the Pokedex to this point in the game. I think it makes sense why it's taken so long, but man, oh man, we are now gearing up for the real challenge. I think that we're going to get back to maybe losing Pokemon, not immediately. Willy Boy might actually turn out to be a little bit of a pushover. Maybe Rare Candies gets everything through. Maybe everything just goes for Hidden Power Dark eventually and gets through, but he will start to show the cracks. I think he will start to make some of these Pokemon sweat a little bit. I will be doing just a little bit of work on the back end before I get ready to start that Will Minimum Battle series, but expect it to come very, very quickly. I've told you guys I'm expecting that we will likely do 25 Pokemon-ish per episode. So honestly, we'll probably be done in like 5 or 6 episodes, tops. That's including the member picks. I just think that we'll be able to blow through this section really quickly because we've only got one trainer in front of us. Just to quickly break down here at the end the game plan going forward, we will be doing Will, only Will in the next section. Then we will be moving on to Koga. We will have an entire Koga series. Then we will do Bruno, have an entire Bruno series, same for Karen, and then same for Lance. Once we get through the Pokemon League though, then everything opens up again. We have this entire section in the post game of Kanto where we can take on anything in basically every order that we want. And what I have found, at least in my solo challenges, is the next real difficulty spike is blue. So we will be doing a blue series. We'll be doing fewer Pokemon, taking a little more time on them, but it's not like it takes that long to get through the post game. So I think we'll be able to get through it pretty efficiently. It depends on how many Pokemon we have at that point though. But then once we get through blue, every Pokemon is going to stand right in front of red and just wait for their opportunity, where when we get to red, the strategies are going to be all about getting through his team. We're going to find out every single Pokemon that can beat him on minimum battles in this one, at least within reasonable luck. I will just reiterate to you guys what reasonable luck is in my mindset. It is when we need one critical hit or like one quick claw activation at the right time, you know, maybe a few status moves that we can directly control in order to get through at the end of the day. But when it comes down to something like a critical hit plus a quick claw activation, a freeze plus a crit, something like that, we're going to start knocking Pokemon out because they're too luck based. Especially as we get to the league, I think it's going to become much more clear where those lines are, and we may just start dropping some Pokemon that look like they take too much luck, or we may just be doing like a bunch of attempts with them and then marking some for redos at the end if I learn something new as we go through it. Still, anyway, I just want to give a massive thank you to everybody who's supported to this point. I know that this is a long outro and it's been a long grind and long journey, so I just can't thank you guys enough for rolling with me for all of this time. Whether you've been here from the very beginning of this channel, whether you've been here before this channel even existed, or if you've just joined and started watching very recently and you're going back to binge all of the episodes to get caught up. We're not done. We got a lot more to do, but we are starting to reach that promised land. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. I will see you guys in the next one. Later.